The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con again. Today with our third part on stage here with Copilot and Copilot Studio is Daniel Christian with his topic, how Copilot Studio turned me into an AI agent believer. Warm welcome to you, and you can start.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, and thank you everybody who's attending this online conference. It's definitely an exciting time. It's actually my first one for 2026, so I'm really excited to get this year started on such a nice topic. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniel Christian. I am a principal engineer for Wells Fargo. It's a very large financial company, and over there I focus purely on the Microsoft AI solutions. And then I'm also into content creation. I have a very active YouTube channel, and I basically just post all things Copilot related, from M365 all the way to Power Platform, and now also dabbling a little bit on the Azure Foundry. And there is a link to my YouTube channel, and I'm pretty active on each of those social medias as well. So as far as today goes, all right, we've got about the next 40 minutes or so. This is the agenda for the session. I'm going to start by actually talking about my AI journey, because that's the whole reason why I'm even here talking about it, and then start giving updates on things that are coming in. So I'm going to spend some time on the AI history piece, and then also about the different agent building options that you have and when to use what. And I'll kind of spend a little bit of time on that. Then recognizing the shift of high impact to everyday solutions, because there is that happening, and I'll just spend some time on that, because you will probably have already started seeing some hints on that. Administrative tools is important. I mean, there is governance first, security first, and then you can talk about performance and all these other things. So that's something I'll be talking about. And then I will even share a little bit about licensing. I know some of us say that, hey, you do not use that L word, it's bad, but at least I'm going to share some information with you. Obviously, you have to make all that decision for a company, but that's something that I'm going to do. So this is just an overview of the agenda, and let's get started. So the first thing, right, about the AI journey. Now I call this as my AI journey, but this truly is the journey of how Copilot Studio started, and Copilot in general. So back in the day, right, 2017, there was something called Q&A, question and answer. This was my first inception into Copilot and basically building these chatbots. Because keep in mind, I come from an IT professional standpoint. My first job ever was racking and stacking servers. I took care of servers, I took care of systems, applications, so on and so forth. So from that background, when I come in and I look at myself right now, I'm actually so shocked to some extent. Like, I'm working firsthand with AI solutions, because once upon a time that was impossible for simple people like me to do that. But we are in now. It is part of our daily job. So I always like to talk about these things. The Q&A maker was the first thing. Now, Q&A maker was a little challenging. You had to teach it, then it would go back and you give it some questions, it'll come back with answers, you got to tweak it. It was a little bit convoluted on that side. But they were making improvements. They, as in Microsoft, they added multi-turn dialogue capabilities, chit-chat options, tier languages, and then making these bots were a little bit more interactive, but still challenging. You had to give it the questions, you had to give it the answers, and it was not very iterative. Like, you would not make educated guesses on the type of questions. Like, they had to be very specific. But that was my first taste of AI altogether, and I was just excited about it. Excuse me. And I used to keep playing and testing with it. Then Q&A Maker actually transitioned over into LUIS, LUIS, Language Understanding Integration System. That happened in 2020, and it was, it got introduced in the 2020. The actual whole, it got introduced in 2015. It went from the private preview to GA right around the 2020 time, but it was also there for a while. And that was my next test. It was definitely a big step up from Q&A because LUIS was a little bit more smarter. You were able to go ahead and give it the same set of questions for learning, but it also understood that if your question was a little bit away from what you trained it, it was smart enough to pick it up. And I think that was one of my big takeaways, that even though there was a bit of a learning curve to go from Q&A Maker to LUIS, I think I spent some time over here, but I didn't spend too much time because Q&A Maker, as you can see, I probably did solid 2.5, 3 years over there. LUIS, I pretty much just spent 1 year because there was also transitions going on. Like, there was transition to Azure conversational language understanding. So this was moving around really fast. But what really caught my attention was LUIS basically migrated over into Power Virtual Agents. And that happened right around 2019, which was the PVA side. It worked out really well. I was able to go ahead and start really building my first chat bots. And I was invested in PVA for 4 years. Like, I really invested in that. It came along with the Power Platform. So I was already starting to come up with some governance models for that. But it never really caught on. I remember back when I was still a Microsoft MVP, I used to attend these MVP summits and I would talk to the product groups about PVA. And there would just be like maybe 4 or 5 of us MVPs talking about PVAs at that time, because we saw the potential of it. Like, it was there. We know it was so good. And building, they used to call it chatbots at that time, chatbots.
Starting your workout.
Oops, sorry, my phone's going a little crazy. Building agents over there was a lot more easier, absolutely no code, but there was still some work involved on that side. It made improvements though. Like, back in the 21-22 year, there was unified authoring canvas. And by the way, I'm putting all of this, these are the big breaks because there were so many other features and updates that were coming out in between, but these were like really big enhancements that was coming in. I call this as a big one because unified authoring canvas, because it was combining the flexibility of people who were building bots on Azure Framework, and they could start moving it over into PVA, Power Virtual Agents. The unified authoring canvas is when you were actually going ahead and building these topics. There was a little option on the top right with the ellipses, the 3 dots. You could actually say, hey, show me the coding version of it. So by the way, that feature is available right now in Copilot Studio also. People get excited about that. But hey, all of that came from Power Virtual Agents as well. So kudos to the Microsoft team who was building it from that side. They also, it was there and they introduced it in the Copilot Studio. So that was the really neat one, is unified authoring canvas. But in November of 2023, PVA was rebranded as Microsoft Copilot Studio. And I'll never forget that day, because that 2023 was when myself and one of the Microsoft product groups, he's actually from the CAD team, he's based in Europe. We did the workshop at Power Platform Community College on Copilot, on Power Virtual Agents. It was there, that event was there. It was the first, it was still called as a Microsoft Power Platform at that time. At that time, it was it was in around October. And then right around like end of November, December was when the transition happened. So things were moving along so well, but I always find that interesting because I just taught this at a big conference as Power Virtual Agents, and Microsoft switched it over. So I always, ping back and say, hey man, did you know about this? Because I felt like you were, a little bit behind over there. Anyway, transitions to the Copilot Studio 100% happened right in the mid 2024. And if you're coming like me from the PVA side, Power Virtual Agents, one of the things you would have noticed is any of those chat bots that you created in the PVA days, they actually became as legacy agents. Like there's a list of, when you go into your Power Virtual Copilot Studio, and you are in the home page, and you can see all these agents that you built. If you've come from the PVA side, there's a column on the type of agents, and they got switched over to legacy agents. But the big difference, and I'll talk a little bit about that, like what was the big difference between PVA versus the Copilot Studio, is the ability to have orchestration. So that's basically here. All right, going on, right? End of 2024, Agent Builder got introduced in what was initially known as BizChat. BizChat is what you and I now know it as Microsoft 365, the Copilot chat, because there's a Copilot chat, and then there's all these other Microsoft 365 Copilot features. In the place where you just do some chatting, that's where the Agent Builder was first introduced. And it was a lighter version of Copilot Studio. And then now, like end of 2025, which is like less than a month away, we have the new icon. Big things such as multi-agent models, multi-agent flexibilities is coming in. We are able to now go ahead and connect to other models outside. We can connect to Azure Foundry, like all of these things that happen. And Agent Builder it was rebranded to Copilot Studio Lite. The Copilot Studio's icon changed, and which some of you are laughing at me, say, hey, it's back again to Agent Builder. Like I have to still update that slide. So this was just my AI journey, but I show this to you in one section is because I have seen firsthand the evolution of where the Copilot Studio is right now, and it is very exciting times. And if some of you are at a very high executive level and you're thinking like, it's Copilot Studio hasn't been around for a while, I can give you that sense of assurance that it has, because Power Virtual Agents has been there for 4 years before that. Copilot Studio has definitely gone past a whole 1 year now. So it is definitely a tried and tested way, and I'm definitely excited about that. And this journey basically shows you the evolution of it as well. So what I want to talk about next is the agent options that you have available from this side. Key ones is I categorize them into these 4 categories. And I deliberately showed this slide deck right after I've just shown you the history and the evolution of it, because one of the first questions I get asked is like, with so many agent options, which one do I use? And what are my agent options? So I definitely, the first thing I do is I present this upfront. That way you can at least use this to do a little bit of planning, and then I'll build on some of that. So your Copilot, and if you and your company or users has M365 Copilot, you can go to the Microsoft Copilot page and you can start putting in some prompts. Prompts is basically doing an explanation to get some answers. You can get this answers, results back based on your own content. Because remember, the Copilot will always respect your permissions. If you're asking for something, and it could be tied to, say, your OneDrive or your library to your SharePoint, if it'll only pull information from that content, if you have access to it. Like, it doesn't just go ahead and blindfoldedly give you access to everything. It doesn't work that way. It will always respect your permissions. So if it's just a one-time or a recurring thing, go ahead and use your prompts, because guess what? When you create a prompt, you can go ahead and save your prompt, so you can come back and use it. Next thing that you can do is go ahead and also use the Agent Builder. This is what used to be called as Copilot Studio Lite. Initially, it was Agent Builder. Copilot Studio Lite became Agent Builder again. I call this as it's a prompt wrapped with UI, and it's basically a retrieval agent, which out of the box gives you these Office connectors. When I say Office connectors, they are Outlook, Excel, OneDrive, SharePoint. Like, those are the type of things, your Office connectors over here. Agent Builder is usually the first place where you can start to get comfortable and building agents. It is absolutely 100% no code. Like, this is the first step of you start building agents. And there's so many of these that can be built for yourself. You can go ahead and share it. There is some governance and applied for the sharing also. You can limit it. Like, there's some good tools that Microsoft has provided. But this is what I call as the next step. If you don't just need prompts, even if scheduled prompts are not enough, you can go ahead to build these absolute no-code agents. The step up from here is the Copilot Studio. And usually this is where I see people sit in this path for a very long time because they're happy over here. They skill up over here. This is where they sit a long time. I actually stay over here a very long time because I classify this as a low to pro code. You can actually build some really complicated agents over here, putting in some code. You don't like to see those UIs, all those sections that you go ahead and add topics. In the topics, you're adding all these nodes. If you don't do that, that's fine. Go into the topic, turn up the developer mode. You can do it from that coding standpoint too, doing a lot of easier stuff. And you have what I would categorize as three different types of agents. One is usually just retrieval. Like you already have your content sitting in your M365 Copilot, M365, or other approved data sources. If you just want data, like information coming in from that knowledge, that's a retrieval one. The retrieval agents are usually a lot more easier for your, if you've got a security team in the back end, like they want to just, give some approvals on that. Retrieval agents are the first ones you can go ahead and get approval for. Second is task oriented. As the name suggests, like this is the agent that you can go ahead and have an interaction with, a conversation with, and then based on the conversation, the agent will go ahead and do something for you. Whether you go ahead and talk to the agent like, hey, getting in information about booking for something, or going ahead and saying, what are my options? Simple things also is, hey, what's on the lunch menu today? You get a response back. All right, go ahead and put in this order. Like that's a task-oriented type of an agent. And then the final category would be enterprise level. Like you are building some really complex agent, and they could be task-oriented. They could be autonomous. Autonomous is if they're triggered by themselves, but you're going ahead and hitting in some other content, which could be a little bit more secure. It could also be an agent that everybody in your company is using. That can also happen. So things like that. There is this task-oriented. There is the enterprise level. Excuse me. Yeah, there is the enterprise level agents also. So I've categorized them as these three categories: retrieval, task-oriented, and enterprise. But Copilot Studio is a place that you will start to see people stay there for a very long time. And if this doesn't work, there is also the Azure Foundry. I want to stop away because I have actually seen scenarios where people have gone to Azure Foundry and then they have come back into Copilot Studio as well. And I'll give an example of that in a minute. But Azure Foundry is the absolute pure code, pro code places to build. They have got some flexibility over there. There is all kinds of models that you could think of. Microsoft has allowed them and connected them into the Azure Foundry. Over there, you can do it purely from a development standpoint. So you have to be like a pro code developer to build it over there. And because over there it is agent to agent level, there are some flexibilities to make that governance a little bit more secure. But it has its own different licensing option, completely different process over there. So like I just mentioned, I have seen scenarios where people have gone to Azure Foundry and come back. It's because when they went to Azure Foundry, they liked the model over there. And then they said, hey, I like how Copilot Studio, it's easier to make it. It's a little bit more interactive. I don't have to be a pro code developer, but I just want to still use my model. And now Microsoft has made it easier where, hey, go get that model which you already have in Azure Foundry. We can go ahead and connect that into your Copilot Studio and still build your agents over there. So I have seen these flavors of different paths. I'll actually add another thing. I just released a video on it this Monday about how when you had your no-code agent builder, guess what? You can now copy that into Copilot Studio as well to take it up to the next level. So this level of flexibility that Microsoft has given is actually pretty good. Like I have done testing on the Google Gemini side as well. I don't see this level of flexibility over there just yet. We'll see which direction Google goes in. But this flexibility is pretty neat. And that's why I wanted to show it to you. Like I would still consider this as a good path. Start on the left side and then work your way all the way to the top right. So thought I'll at least start off with this section over here. All right, I love to show this part, which is the common features across all three of them, because you have what's on the left, the first iteration of building chatbots, Power Virtual Agents, PVA. And then on the right is Copilot Studio with the new and improved version of it. and in between is the first iteration of Copilot Studio. So common features across all of them. And I know this for a fact because I came from PVA days as well. I was one of the first ones to do it. So agents is at an environment level. So the concept of having first your environment spun up on Power Platform Admin Center or PPAC, and then over there you go ahead and build your agents. That has been consistent across all three of them. Low-code authoring with pro-code extensibility. This was also there before. In fact, like I said initially, back in the PVA Power Virtual Agents days, you could basically just go and see the code in the backend. So even though you see this feature in the new enhanced version of Copilot Studio, and that might get you excited, hey, that was there from the PVA days itself, all right? Low-code authoring with pro-code extensibility. Knowledge grounding across multiple sources was also there before in Power Virtual Agents days. Over there, the concept of connectors remained. You were able to control those connectors in data policy on the PPAC side, and you can go ahead and pull your information from your SharePoint, from your Dataverse, from your Confluence, a grounded data source from multiple sources. That was there consistently across all three of them. And then multi-channel publishing. The concept of channels basically means that you have different types of channels. I'll give you some examples. In Copilot Studio or PVA, Microsoft is considered as a channel. And in Microsoft, now you can go and push it out to SharePoint. You can push it out to M365 Copilot, push it out to Teams. Like there's multiple services, but the channel is called as Microsoft. Then there are other channels. You can go and push that out to WhatsApp. You can push it out to Facebook. Like there's multiple channels. All of that we see right now in Copilot Studio, and we get excited about it, but this was also there in PVA days. What I want to show you next is, and by the way, the building in telemetry, analytics, and lifecycle management, this was also there. But I will tell you that it has improved by leaps and bounds now than it was before. Because before, if I was having we used to call it as chatbots in PVA days, Power Virtual Agents, I would have conversations starting building chatbots. It used to take 24, sometimes 36 hours till I would see analytics and telemetry on the PVA days. Right now, it is so much faster on the Copilot Studio side. Literally in a matter of hours, you're seeing the data come in. So that even though all three of them, the first PVA right to the enhanced Copilot Studio had this feature, it was not very good back in the PVA days. But what I want to do is now kind of hide off a little bit on the PVA side and show it from the Copilot Studio initial till the enhanced version. The first big difference that happened on the Copilot Studio side was generative orchestration and natural language authoring. Basically, AI is what made Copilot Studio much different from PVA side, much different. Like PVA absolutely did not have AI built into it. Copilot Studio is what had it. The concept of orchestration came out in the Copilot Studio days, and then it's constantly getting enhanced with more language authoring and things like that. Autonomous agents, multi-age orchestration, it was only available in Copilot Studio. It never actually existed in here on the PVA side. That was one of the neat things on the area there. Also, deep M365 extensibility with agents, tools, and knowledge. The extensibility has come in more on the Copilot Studio side because in PVA, you could not just go ahead and take agents and then put in your SDK kit and take it into other places. That never existed in PVA, but you have that flexibility now in Copilot Studio piece over here. And then finally, the enterprise governance, auditing, licenses assigned to Copilot, like this enhancement that has happened, again, never existed in PVA. So I'm just going to wrap all this up by saying that the enhancement to Copilot Studio, or the transition to Copilot Studio, was the right choice that Microsoft made. They did it really fast, and boy, they were moving forward with lightning space. But I think it's definitely paying off right now with all these features and enhancements they're releasing at lightning speed on that. So I do want to, like I showed you about this Copilot Studio piece, I want to spend a little bit of time on this little shift that has occurred. Because yes, people like us are in Copilot Studio day in and day out, and we are building some really neat customizing agents. But Microsoft has also provided us flexibility to go ahead and first start. Like, let me first start building my agents or apps or flows on the M365 Copilot first. And then after that, if there is more high impact, high complexity, then maybe I should switch over on the Power Platform. So this is what I see right now, and I'm pretty sure you can agree with me on that. See, right at the bottom, that is the icon over here for building agent, using Agent Builder. There's the same thing for building Power, just for the apps, and also building the flows. Like all three of these are happening on M365 Copilot. If, and many people who are absolutely citizen developers, no code, they stay using these for a very long time. It's only after this that you transition over to the next level in Power Platform, that you shift from the Power Apps, from the M365 Copilot over into Power Automate, making Power Apps for Canvas apps or model-driven apps, and then building custom agents. So all of these, basically that transition that I showed you actually comes up to this. You stay in your M365 Copilot, and then once you're ready for the next level, you switch over to the Power Platform. Like this literally is a shift that I am noticing in the past 6 months, kind of a thing, because Microsoft has actually started doing that. Now, when you go ahead and do all of this, there are certain differences that happen, the way the governance works, the way the permission and the sharing and everything works. So those differences, I'm going to, for the sake of this session, I want to look at it from the Agent Builder agent versus the custom agent on Copilot Studio. So these are the three differences I want to talk about. Is that, like I mentioned before, it is prompt wrapped with more options. But when you build it with Copilot Studio, it is built with retrieval, tools, automation, autonomous. Like that's the kind of stuff that you can do from the Copilot Studio, from the M365 Copilot to the Copilot Studio. When you do it in the Copilot side building agents, they are managed inside the M365 Copilot. While when you do it on the custom Copilot Studio, you got Power Platform governance wrapped around it, which means you have environment level. Over there, you can go ahead and say, hey, what connectors I'm allowing at that environment level. You don't have that flexibility in M365 Copilot. And this thing also applies for the apps and the flows. Licensing on the Copilot side, it's a per user license. While when you go into the Copilot Studio, you can do it licensing at an agent level. And yes, over there also the per user license applies. And then the final one is your knowledge. Like there is this data retrieval coming from. When it comes to the Agent Builder, you got the M365 services as a knowledge, and those are literally the only ones that you can go ahead and push out. So you have things, if you have it on your SharePoint, yes, you can go ahead and get it. Your Teams conversations, your Outlook emails, Outlook calendar, like this information can come in as your knowledge. But when you go into Power Platform side, into Copilot Studio, you have your first party, which is all the things about Microsoft that I talked about. But then you also have third-party data sources, and those can also be all governed just fine. So this is the key differences that I'm showing you when you go from the no code all the way to the low code or even pro code side over here. I showed this from an agentic standpoint, but it applies to flows. It also applies to the Canvas apps. So this was the features part that we talked about, and I showed it in this detail. I want to pivot a little bit and also talk about it from the administration tools. And this has evolved from such a long way. So I want to kind of break it down into a few of these that are available by Microsoft only. Like I have not even included third-party ones, right? These are all the ones that Microsoft has provided for you today. Like you don't have to wait. They are not private preview or anything. You have these available today. So let's start from the top, all right? Power Platform Admin Center. Also, you will talk about PPAC a lot. It has a whole section called Inventory. Over there, it goes ahead and picks up all the type of agents that are being built over there. Right now, it immediately goes and picks up these custom agents that you've built in your Copilot Studio. But Microsoft is thinking about it, that they might even go ahead and pull in, actually not thinking about it, I believe that they've already made that official statement, that your agent builder agents will also start showing up on the inventory. So they're picking up signals from both sides, M365 and also from the Power Platform side. Inventory is a great place. In fact, they've also now added a Copilot piece in your PPAC to go ahead and pull all the places where apps, flows, and agents are being used. So you can pull it from the Copilot side as well. This is one of the first things I do is when I create agents, like within minutes, it shows up on the inventory place. That's a really good place for admins to find out what is the activity, where are the signals coming from, and picks it up right over here. So inventory is the first big one. Then there is the Copilot Studio Toolkit. It's a tool that Microsoft has called a CAT team, C-A-T, customer advisory team. They are the ones who actually build these type of tools. It's a free tool. Go ahead and look it up, Copilot Studio Toolkit. You can download it. Recommendations on this is you go ahead and do an install in a dedicated environment. I've actually done video on this piece. If you're interested, go look it up, like what the Copilot Studio Toolkit is, some of the features that come along with it. But over here, a couple of neat things. If you want more granular information about your custom agents that your users have built, this is the place to do it, because it'll pull in additional information, things such as what kind of an agent is it? Is it just a retrieval, or are there any tools connected to it? Is it autonomous? This tool will go ahead and do that. And then enhancements have come in where you can go ahead and now do testing. Like you want to do some bulk testing over here, go ahead and give it like information. It'll do the bulk testing for you. It also pulls information such as, hey, for the conversation that I'm having with this agent in bulk testing, what is the retrieval time? Like how much time did it take for this agent? How much success rate was there? That level of testing, you can actually do it in the Copilot Studio Toolkit. That's another free one that is available. And then the new one, the M365 agent. This comes from the M365 Admin Center. So when you have an access to go ahead and look at the admin level access, on the left side, you will have the M365 agent. One of the neat things over there is it picks up agents across all entities, whether you have it built in Copilot Agent Builder, Copilot Studio, and also when you're going to pull it in Microsoft Foundry, they will show up over here. That's the place. That's why you see I put all three icons: Foundry, Copilot Studio, and the Agent Builder. This place has definitely got potential over here because not only is it good for things such as going ahead and doing your inventory, but a term that you hear across all the time is agent registry. Microsoft is working towards this being the single source of your agent registry. So I highly recommend that you start getting yourself familiar with it, especially if you are the admin or if your managers are there, directors. Like, hey, my team needs to start focusing and getting familiar with M365 agent, because this is going to be like your central place, not just for an inventory, but also starting to put some control around where it is. And I'll give you a little hint. Right now, as it stands, Microsoft has taken features that were available on the M365 Copilot. So on your Mac, which is the Microsoft Admin Center, there was a section called M365 for the Copilot. There were features and tools over there, which they literally took it from there and they put it into M365 agent just to show that, hey, those are now tools tied only towards your agent, but they're adding more enhancements over there. So just thought at least I'd call that out from that side. And then the final one is Purview. One of the things Purview does, which neither one of the other three tells me about my agent activity. I'll give you an example. Your either senior people or someone on your security team or something have come and say, hey, I want information about the agent activity. Do you see that which one of the agents are actively being used? That is, people are actually going and having a conversation with it, versus agents that have been stale. Because I'll tell you what, the other tools like in the M365 agent or the Power Platform admin's inventory, it only shows me 2 timestamps: when the agent was created, when the agent was either published or modified. Those are the 2 timestamps. But from those 2 places, the PPAC on the M365 agent, I don't have a way to see, hey, when was the last conversation I was had with the agent? Who asked a question to the agent when? And that information can only come from Purview. Now, there's a little bit of learning that has to be done. How do I go ahead and get the information? But guess what? If your team has already been familiar with using Purview for other services such as Exchange or SharePoint, then it's the same concept. There is just more different actions available. But here is where you can literally get the activity of Purview. And Microsoft is making that easier and easier for you to get that information. So this is just a quick overview of the administrative tools that should be on your radar. All 4 of them, because they've got some key things which one can do, the other one cannot. But I would at least put all of these as the tools in your tool bag to have a holistic view of how the agent activity is happening on your side. All right, so I covered some important things, all right? Features, covered tools. I have to spend some time talking about the agent licenses. And I know this is a topic that people usually hate to talk about. Trust me, I don't get very excited about this as well. But my point over here is not to tell you like what you should, how much it's going to cost you. Sure, I'm going to put some dollar values over here, but I want you to know these options that are available so you can make some informed decisions, right? That's the whole thing. I'm not telling you one is better than the other. What I am telling you is these are your options so you can make an informed decision. So there are literally 3 different types of license options available. And I break them down to 2 different categories. Is it a per agent level or is it a per user level? So this first option, right, this is a per agent level. You can go ahead and buy these agent packs. Like you can buy them as, this is a license tied to an agent. You can, the more I've heard from Microsoft and from other customers, the more of these packs that you buy, they're usually agent packs. With one pack, you can buy up to 5 agents. You get a better discount. That's what I have seen. So per agent will cost you $200 per agent per month. That's the cost. That's the sticker price. When I say sticker price, it's like the initial price you see before any discounts get kicked in. And for per agent, you get 25,000 Copilot credits. And I'll dive a little bit more on what this credits actually means. But this is basically what it is: 25 Copilot credits, 25,000 Copilot credits. So it is it does go ahead and get reinstated. So like if you by the end of this month went and utilized 24,000 of those Copilot credits, by the beginning of next month, it will refresh and the number starts again at from the beginning. But say this month you only utilized 1,000 credits, the pending amounts never get rolled over to the next month. It is like you lose it. You use it or you lose it. So that's the first one. It's the agent level. The remaining 2 are always at a user level. Again, it's back to the agent level, but also by the user level. So you can go on the pay-G model. Pay-G is pay as you go. The pay-G model. Over here, again, it is still tied to the agent, but over here, you're doing it based on the usage. So advantages to this one is you only pay for what you've used, as against the first option where you go ahead and use, whether you use it or you don't, there is a sticker price that you're going to pay, that $200. But over here, it is going to be like, if I'm going to constantly keep consuming more, great, I will go ahead and pay for more. If I haven't consumed a whole lot, I will pay less. This comes from what is your Azure subscription side. So the way this is utilized in the subscription model, that subscription model has been there for a long time. You use that subscription for other things in Azure side. And now it's available over here on the Copilot side as well, Copilot Studio for building custom agents. You can also do mixing and matching, where you buy message packs, and then those message packs, if they get overconsumed, then the next feature that comes up is the pay-as-you-go. Like that feature is available from a technical side as well. And the final and the third one is, the Copilot, the M365 Copilot. I say unlimited because I'm pretty sure Microsoft in the back end is watching, but it's a per user level. So what that means is that, say you have 10 people in your company, right? Say you have 10 people in your company. 5 of them have M365 Copilot licenses, and the other 5 do not. All 10 of them are talking to your Copilot Studio. So say your Copilot Studio now has that message pack, a lot of the $200 one, right? And it's got the 25,000 credits. If the 5 people who got the M365 Copilot are talking to the agent, then there will be no consumption of credits. But the remaining 5, all right, they just have their basic M365 business license or the enterprise license. If they talk to the Copilot Studio, they will start consuming into the credit side of it. So the advantages of M365 Copilot, yes, you've got so many advantages on the M365 side. You can do it in Word, Excel, all of those neat things over there. In SharePoint has its own things, Teams that's coming up. Yes, you can go and use Agent Builder over there. But if you're going to also build custom agents, then your Copilot Studio license applies over there as well. There will be no consumption whatsoever. So how this breaks down is right over here. Like this is the key thing on that side, is where you have all of these different types of consumptions. Look at that billing rate column in between, because that's the key one that I want you to notice. Remember, I just showed you, see on the left side, it says that when you buy those licenses, you get 25,000 Copilot credits, or you do on the pay model, which is 1 cent per Copilot credit. But how you consume those credits is also different, because not everything is a one-to-one. Like when you go ahead and ask a classic answer basically means it's directly pulling it from your, Copilot doesn't have to go and pull any information, doesn't have to pull any information, like it already has that, doesn't have to go to searching. That's a classic answer. Well, that type of questions, billing rate is only 1 Copilot credit. But if you go and do generative, tenant graph grounding means basically you're pulling in from your OneDrive or your SharePoint or your internal things. Like it's still grounded to your tenant, but Copilot is now stepping outside Power Platform and pulling it from other services. Well, that billing rate is now 10. By the way, this used to be 20. Like Microsoft sliced that into half. So that, this is how the consumption goes over here. When you have agent flow actions, for every 100 actions, it's consuming 13 of them. So that is how your billing rate gets consumed, whether you go down on the message pack, like the $200 one, or even when you go on the Pagey side. But if you've got the M365 Copilot license, there is no additional charge over here. That is it. Like that's great. So you see, this again, I'm not here to tell you one is better than the other one. I'm here to give you all this information to make this informed decision. Like this is the license packs options that you have available. There is the agent level one, and then there's also the user level one, and how this consumption and everything happens on that side. So, all right, I'm right at the mark over here. I've talked into 40 minutes, gave you an overview. I want to thank you again for listening, because this was basically my story and all my experiences that I've gathered, not just in the Microsoft 365, not just Microsoft Copilot Studio, but back when it was in Power Virtual Agents. Like from over 5 years of using these things, I have actually transferred it over. I shared all of these important things that you need to know to help your company make the informed decisions. Also sharing you some trends of the next things that, it's not always jumping over straight into the Copilot Studio site. There are options available in M365 Copilot, and they do turn out a little bit cheaper. But hey, if you don't, I showed you a path to move forward. Start with simple prompts that even can be scheduled. Then go over to the Agent Builder. Then go to Copilot Studio. And if that doesn't happen, and say if it's just a model that you want, additional model, get that from Azure Foundry, still work on the Copilot Studio. But I kind of give you a path over there. And then I also ended with some ideas on how the permissions and the governance pieces work, tools that you should talk about for administrative, important. All 4 of those tools, they should be in your tool bag as things you need to go ahead and get information. And then finally, I gave you I gave you the whole concept of how the licensing works, so you can make those decisions on your side. So once again, thank you so much for listening. Just a quick overview. This is who I am. Feel free to connect with me on social media. I'm pretty active. I post videos there once a week. If you ping me on LinkedIn, I'll happily respond to any of those questions. But this is just an overview, and I'm happy to take any few questions that you may have.
Yeah, really nice overview. And we never had today this part of licenses. And I think this is a pain point, because it's not easy to handle. Yeah. So what do you want to prefer? I would say to say if a company will start with Copilot Studio, I would say not a big company, an SME. So what is a better strategy, to start with an pay as you go, or with an a standard license?
I mean, I would, if the company already has, say, M365 Copilot licenses as well, like some people have Copilot licenses, then they don't even have to pay anything, because they can use that. But if you're just starting out with building custom agents, I definitely say go down the Pagey path, the pay as you go. That's the place where you don't have to cough out a lot of money up front, but you're only going to pay based on the consumption side. One of the neat things is that it's all based on your Azure subscription model. So on your Azure subscription, you can do 2 things. You can literally set a limit. Like, hey, whatever happens at the end of the month, I do not want to pay more than $1,000. Like, that's my limit. That's the cap. And you can even say that if we hit $800, send me an alert. Like you can do it that way. So it's a very controlled way to start this. And then once you get your numbers, like, hey, I think I know that in my company for, and even if I go and add a little bit more buffer to it, in the next 1 year, I see this growth happening. So I can make a projected path of this will be my spending. Then you make that decision that I can actually buy either the agent message packs, or it might still be cheaper to buy M365 Copilot for everybody. But you start small, like you go on the PageE path to get some good numbers. And what is the appetite in your company? How are these agents performing? And then once you have those numbers, you can make some informed decisions.
Really good answer. So one other question is, so we didn't have this question the whole day, because it's so because you show the whole history of Copilot Studio from the start. So someone says in the comments, Luis question mark, and and I would say this question for you is, who is Copilot Studio not a good fit for today?
I missed the last part. Who is Copilot Studio not? What is it?
Not a good fit for today.
Copilot Studio not in good fit for today.
Fit, yeah.
I haven't quite come up in that. I would say it's how complex you're building it, and honestly, what's your data model in the back end. I have seen only one scenario where a company build their own data model, or they wanted to go through some data models that they were very comfortable with. In that case, right now, there is no option. Like Copilot Studio doesn't provide too much of that. So they would be good candidates to go and actually build it straight on the Microsoft Foundry side. But one of the neat things that are currently in preview, though, is you can have a model over there and even pull that directly into the Copilot Studio side. So I'll tell you, like, in my company, when people come and they submit this request, I tell them that you need to have a really good reason to go into the Foundry side. And I'll respect that if you're talking about different models that are available outside the models which Microsoft supports. I completely respect that. But as far as building the agent and all the features and functionalities that are available in Foundry, you can do that in Copilot Studio also. They're adding more features over there. It's just the models, which I think is right now is the big thing, because there is permissions, there is governance even in Copilot Studio, which, yes, it can be done on Azure Foundry side. You just need to have a very complex reason and specifically custom models or models that Microsoft doesn't support that will be in Foundry. That could be a good use case, but it's definitely something that you have to think it through. And if you're in the IT side of your company, you should have this kind of an intake process to really have, like, okay, where does this fall under? And even if somebody is going into Foundry, ask them, like, have you tried Copilot Studio first? Because, like I said, you might already have the license for that, and therefore utilize what you have before you start paying more for Foundry.
So I want to add something, and you could, could say if I'm right. So my first test with SharePoint as a data source was I would say, horrible. In my first test, I got 10 lines on a list back. In my second test, it was a few months ago, I got 15 lines back. Yeah. And Bülent Altenzoy, who doesn't know him, said to me, so yeah, and at the moment we have no MCP server for SharePoint. And I think this is the main problem I see here. So because I know so many people have SharePoint as a database, I would say this in question marks, but I think this is not a good fit for today. Is it right for you, or do you have? How do you think here?
I think the path is what really helps me decide. Which ones you should go with. I really tell people that look at this path. I personally am going to stay in the Copilot Studio side for as long as I really need, and then I will consider going into Azure Foundry. In fact, a couple of things I want to test for my own scenarios is get the models from there and start pulling them into Copilot Studio. But I personally have so many stories of how successful Copilot Studio has been. And one of the neat things that Microsoft is giving now is templates. Like they are giving you all these templates available out of the box and some really complex ones. If you're interested, take a look at something called as employee self-service. That's a big one that Microsoft has released, and they're giving more on that. They didn't release that into the M365 Agent Builder or into the Azure Foundry. They released that in Copilot Studio. So I think I personally am going to stay in this path for a while. Sure, I'll test some scenarios over here, but I'd also love to test the collaboration between the two. But my personal spot is going to be sitting on the Copilot Studio side for a while.
Yeah, I want to thank you. It was a really impressive session and a really good overview about the history. So, and the license parts of all of his topics was not shown today. So it was pretty amazing. So I thank you. And our next session is Isha Kapoor with a deep dive into Copilot Studio Agents. So we see us, I hope you soon. And yeah, have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Are you tired of missing out on the latest Microsoft innovations that could entirely revolutionize your business operations and workflow completely now and forever? Imagine having daily insights from industry experts at your fingertips every single day, receiving actionable advice that transforms your professional landscape significantly with each new revelation daily. Our M365.FM podcast brings you engaging, insightful conversations with dynamic leaders shaping the future through innovative technologies and groundbreaking ideas that transform industries. Stay ahead of the curve with expert analysis on the cutting-edge strategies you need to implement immediately, making informed decisions and driving innovation forward successfully, always. From IT pros to C-level executives, our podcast has got you covered with actionable advice daily. Tune in now to discover forward-thinking, revolutionary ideas that are transforming businesses like yours right now with innovative strategies and fresh perspectives. You get the exclusive inside scoop on Microsoft's latest technological developments and strategic moves, straight from the company's top experts and industry thought leaders daily. Our engaging discussions make complex tech topics simple, accessible, and highly actionable. You'll be the first to know about groundbreaking, game-changing technological advancements that significantly impact your role and transform your professional landscape completely every time. Each episode is packed with practical insights to boost your professional growth instantly. Don't just keep up. Stay ahead consistently with the knowledge and insights that set you apart creatively from the competition and others in your field, always effectively. Our M365.FM podcast is your essential key to unlocking the full potential of Microsoft's comprehensive suite of productivity tools and services effectively every day. Join a vibrant community of forward thinkers who are actively shaping the future of innovative tech and sustainable business models now and beyond regularly. You'll gain confidence in your decisions daily, backed by expert opinions and valuable insights, fostering personal growth and trust in your judgment naturally over time, with each careful consideration. Expect seamless integration of the latest tech trends into your workflow and overall business strategy, enhancing productivity and driving innovation through cutting-edge solutions and expert guidance daily. Every episode is a step towards becoming a more effective, informed, and confident leader in your chosen professional field by enhancing your skills and expertise gradually, over time naturally. Make the most of Microsoft's innovations today. Subscribe to M365.fm now and lead the way to a more productive future with innovative tools and collaborative solutions instantly. Listen now and transform your approach to tech and business with M365.fm. Your ultimate growth starts here today with expert insights and innovative solutions immediately.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest. When you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con. Today on our Copilot and Copilot Studio stage is Isha Kapoor. A warm welcome to you. And the topic is a deep dive into Copilot Studio Agents. The stage is yours. You could start.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Isha Kapoor. First, let me verify I am audible. Everything seems okay in terms of sound. Okay, good. Okay. So I am Isha Kapoor. I'm a Copilot engineer. I work for currently a bank here in Toronto. My background goes all the way from working with SharePoint on premises to cloud services, and since 20 in our SharePoint site because he was building a knowledge management system for the company. That's when I got interested a lot in Copilot development, how this AI and chat expand. But since my introduction in 2024, I think the whole world has changed. There are tons of uploaded every day, and Copilot Studio got a massive upgrade. Initially, I could only do it became an entire application, and you could share, you could develop, you can do a agentic AI as people say. I'm just going to share my entire screen because I do have a lot of tabs, and I will be showing a lot of different configurations in Copilot Studio that I have done. So at this time, I am purely in development of Copilot Studio Agents. Now, not only Studio, my job is to investigate the entire Copilot area. So whether it be creating a custom connector, which will be connecting to the Copilot, or agents from Power Apps, which is my next project, which will be online soon, and or creating an SDK agents and register it into the Agent 365 registry and roll it out to. So at this point, my clients are mostly in a demo or pre-release phase. Things are changing so fast. We are constantly evolving and constantly going through our architectures. But in a broader sense, I believe that Copilot Studio, which came out as a low-code application, is probably going to be a very vast application. It's going to be a base or a UI, take AI architecture or an integration solution. So Studio, one part of it, but integrations to it, calling them from different other objects, adding an agent flow, adding open AI, Swagger files, adding different MCPs. You have been through a lot of MCP presentations. So MCPs, they all connect together and then solution architecture. So my job today is to walk you through how different scenarios Copilot Studio Agents. So I'll be demoing more, less slides through the slides so I can reach my demos, my agents, and I can show you actually how they are built in the APIs. So my agenda here is what the overview of Copilot Studio is. That already, I'll just spend less than a minute on that. Copilot Studio architecture, which I'll go through, and then the conversational flow that you have to understand. If anybody who's building Copilot Studio agents, they need to understand different topics, how they behave, because at some, we have heard the feedback that they experience, because at some point when a user starts reprompting their prompts, trying to get to an accurate prompt where that they will give, they'll get the desired result, what they're asking for. At that, it's often we have seen that the Copilot Studio escalates and falls back, and then I do not understand. Maybe you want to talk to some other person. So we want to avoid that situation. How Copilot internally navigates all the topics, whether being system topics, custom topics, leverage all that. So conversational flow covers that. Now we'll do integration considerations. So that's where your deep dive comes. If you want to use MCP tool, you want to use an agent flow, that's Power Automate, upgrade of Power Automate, agent flow. You want to add your own custom connector, custom tool, MCP. What do you want to add, and how you make those decisions? I'm going to show you quick demos of Copilot API. So this is also a new API, basically tapping into your M365 Copilot chat service. We are going to tap into that, trying to bring, and then custom connectors, how they are added, how they are used as tools in your Copilot Studio Agents. Best practices. We have tons and tons of best practices all over the place. You can look into the implementation guide, the ones which are not there, and which are the ones which I had to definitely keep in mind every time I design a studio. So less than a minute on this. So what Copilot Studio solutions are, they're basic solutions. They are as similar, if you would say, to model app, in the environment, and then the solution lives in the environment through the environments and goes to the production. Of course, it adheres all the policies, features, and in addition to that, some Copilot specific DLP policies are configured every time when you enable be a AI enabled. So what happens is sprint 0, you need to know so you need to know where my solution is going to sit. So I'm going to talk about Copilot agents, but Copilot agent solution, because we are not to create a POC always. We have to put it into production in an enterprise level. Of course, we also have to keep in mind that all the policies are implemented. So planning, environment strategy, you have been through a session before. Environment groups were discussed. So in a typical larger organization, an environment, a Power Platform environment already created, a Copilot enabled, some features are enabled, some DLP figured in that. And then what you would do is you would start building your agent in that environment. That how you do that. But so ALM, so your application management is also set. Through the flow, and then once you have that, you just go through the confirmation, refinement. If your studio agent continuously bumps out, we call it it fallbacks continuously. It says I can't understand you, or I can't find anything, so it just gets stuck, which frustrates the user. So that's the continuous refinement. And I think the test cases, the scenarios is excellent. But I also use conversation script a lot, and I see a session state and how the conversation, what were the prompts generated and what were the most common prompts, and those are the ones target. So, and then of course we'll look at integration with the backend systems, and then with the host UI is, if you want to open any firewall, anything, your UI is comfortable being in Teams, or it's going to be a standalone Copilot, published to a channel. In most companies, what we are doing right now is Teams. However, there are multiple channels available. And so UAT.
Isha, we have one problem.
Production scenario.
We have one problem. You're lagging with your video. Could you change your resolution if you click on the wheel and when on a camera and when you camera resolution on 480p
Okay.
on the wheel side sign or icon,
Okay.
and when on camera and when on camera resolution, because you're lagging. Yeah.
Okay. So
on
should I do a
580.
low definition?
Yeah, on 360 or 480. Yeah.
46.
Yeah, perfect. You can go further.
Okay. So let's do. So the first thing first, you need in a environment, in a typical enterprise environment, you need the architecture. One of the architectures that I have very recently created for my client, and I'm trying Copilot Studio Agent, trying to get it approved through the architecture, security, and push it into production. But this is the so this I sort of copied it from the implementation guide, this one that Microsoft has put it out. Although I did not find this version in the implementation guide, not in the presentation, not in the PDF. So I created it, and I changed few things into this to reflect the new scenario of Agent 365. You have seen Agent 365 registry. I can show you that too, but now because we are still not in production in our company, so I prefer that all the studio agents, other agents which are connecting to the studio agents, they all should have an instance into the Agent 365 registry. So we can observe how the things are going with different agents, how it's being through different scenarios, how the MCP servers are behaving, and of course, if there's a custom MCP server, we would want to policies into the Agent 365 registry. So in my slide deck, this is the editable version. Just below here in the notes, you can find the mermaid code. Now, mermaid code is something, put it into a loop component. Remember MS loop? So open a loop component in your M365 code into that, and then it should give you the architecture, and you can then modify the architecture. You can, I'll try to put it a PDF version and of course the presentation a PPT, you can take it from here. So this broader architecture, it tells you that how a studio agent, which is this part, this is the studio piece, Copilot Studio. So how Studio interacts with the different components of the M365 tenant. So because an agent is one component, but agent plus different integrations like MS Flow, HTTP connections, Dataverse MCP coming from the agent registry. There's another knowledge source. There's a fabric agent, and there is a custom agent that I'm calling, let's say SDK agent. All of them solution. Okay, Copilot Studio Agent is just one component. It's like, in the entire, you create an enterprise project which has a SharePoint, a list, a flow, a tiny Power App running. So that entire thing is solution. In a real world scenario, going into production, you have to present a solution, which is to Power Platform environment with all the DLP policies. So that's why the DLP policies, and they implement into the agent flows, the HTTP connectors, and they implement into the Power Platform environment. So this entire thing is Power Platform environment. And because we are creating a solution in the environment, the DLP will be implemented. And of course, anything that is interacting with Copilot Studio also needs to have those policies implemented. For example, in my company, they are restricting it to be published to WhatsApp channel or a Facebook channel. Nobody should be able to create a Copilot Studio agent and publish it into select Facebook and publish it to Facebook. So we are restricted through DLP policies and agent flows, HTTP connectors, custom connectors, anything that is coming to have those policies. So this is all done at environment level. Now, in addition to that, we use Entra IDs because the Copilot Studio are internal bots. They are not on a public facing websites. So Entra ID is there, Dynamics 365 when you configure the escalate part. So if you're doing a conversational AI or even an autonomous AI is stuck somewhere where it doesn't know the direction, so you do have an option. You can just put it pass it on and establish a connection that it would reiterate. By default it reiterates for 2 times, so it tells you I can't find anything, then so it's 2 times. You can configure it to be 4 times, or you can right away configure the escalation path. In addition to that, we all know that generative answers, anything generative AI, we are connecting to the entire tenants Azure OpenAI instance. So when I talk about Azure OpenAI or Azure Search, configured in advanced search with an index as well. So Azure OpenAI instance is your instance. It's a copy of OpenAI's ChatGPT, whatever the latest model is. It's a copy which is in your tenant. Secure. It's not going outside the firewall. You don't have to open a proxy. You don't have to do anything. Your agents are directly configured to tap into your own copy of a which is deployed in your company's Azure. Get the answers from that LLM, that model. In addition, but I'm a huge fan of this Agent 3, all registered into the Agents 365. It's just the setting that you turn on in a Power Platform Admin Center, wherever your environment is. So you just go there, settings, Copilot, and then turn that all Copilot Studio agents should have their own agent identity. Very quickly show you this. Okay. So Agent 365. So you go to your M365 Admin Center, agents, all agents, and that's the place. Okay, I'm going to go to all agents, and I'm going to show you one very recent Copilot Studio agent that I've done, and another one is the SDK agent. So it's a Pro Code agent. 2 of them. Okay. Let's see. Okay, published by. These are declarative agents, and then I can do the one. If I have published any. Okay. I date created, yes. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So I'm going to find out. So I tested, and one is the Copilot Studio agents, the SDK agents. So both the agents were now registered into the Copilot agent. It seems like every day new agents are being added. So it's not, they're just there. You are not deploying it. So unless you click them, select them, and deploy them, they are not going to be deployed into your directory. So there are tons and tons of it, but and how many topics are there. Then you go to the next part, which is the actual flow of the topic. In a typical studio agent, so I'm just going to switch between demos. So in a typical studio agent, for example, the so when you create a new Copilot Studio agent, there are system topics that get, but you can remove the reference for that. So where remove or change, but by default, conversation start is the first topic that is initiated. So now it flows right from the beginning. When a user types in the first message, what's the topic that's initiated, to how it's going to navigate to your custom topics, and then how it's going to go back to, for example, fallback, escalate, and then conversational boosting is the one I use the most. Now this is where, if anything is, for example, it's asking for a SharePoint site, a URL, it's giving me a title name, but maybe somebody changed the site. So my MCP server or my own custom topic, my tools, they're not finding anything. If that, I'm going to do a conversation. What I typically do is I put an instruction document, or I configure a so boosting is the one which tries to boost the conversation again and again. And at that point, I would ask conversational boosting present, rather than saying random things from the LLM. What is this? What is that? Maybe information. Rather than that, go to the enterprise directory and get an article from ServiceNow, get an article from DataWorks, that this is the company policy. You might have changed the name. Maybe go and get an approval from the site owner. So conversational boosting is what it boosts the conversation and then it posts back. So this is the entire flow I have drafted with several tests. This is not from Microsoft. I have built it, and I have built it after test studio agents, and how it is. And I do leverage conversational boosting the most. And there is Gen AI, so generative AI, which gives the generic things. Like I work for a bank, so tell them to give me the options for credit products in the bank, so credit line. It goes and gets the information from internet. I do not want that. So I target this Gen AI action, the node. I target it and give it a dedicated source. I give it a dedicated knowledge source, and that knowledge source is my SharePoint. In most cases, I give them the instruction file. This, in 90% of cases, this is one of the policies I wrote for the company, that what we would do is we would put a file in the Gen AI conversational boosting topic for every agent. And that instruction file use this agent. So anytime any step fails, it goes to the conversational boosting first. If the conversational boosting can't do anything and does not understand, then it goes to fallback. Fallback tells the user 2 times that, understand, can you rephrase? I can't understand, can you rephrase? And then it shows the message saying escalating to the to the service desk. Now there is no service desk. You can connect it to the actual service. We avoid the fallback. We avoid the escalation message. So what, keep them in conversational boosting. And we change the sources for the Gen AI node in conversational boosting. the message goes back to the user, and then the user again types in a message. We sometimes we give them options. User selects one of those. If there is no match, the conversational boosting again. Okay, so at one point, it to send the user to ServiceNow and create an incident if they're not finding anything. But in most, get the idea that how this agent works and what I need to ask, and then according to what they write, they are to those custom topics as per the phrases what they write. Now there are other things also. For example, if there are multiple topics matched, so this is called the ambiguous. So this is where we go through the code review or the flow review of a agent reiteration. So if you have phrases like initiate a credit card inquiry, customers who were added with credit, so there is a chance that multiple topics can be evoked, and in that case there'll be very ambiguous messages all over the place, because the Copilot AI's job is to actually match the phrases. So in that case, what usually happen is sometimes the Copilot, but it's more often, there is a recognition or intent options. So what is the intent? There are multiple intents. So the Copilot comes back and says, did you mean this? Did you mean that? Topic overlap. Okay, so this experience is also not a good experience. So make sure any that you configure very clearly defines what the actual function of that topic is. If I'm asking to site, I need to tell the topic that I am going to decommission the site. So SharePoint operations agent have created is about decommissioning the site. So the user comes here, sits in the Microsoft Teams and asks for the site to be decommissioned. And this topic creates an who can ask for the decommissioning of a site. It goes and checks the current user's owner credentials in that site, and if they are the owners, then that okay, fine, the site will be decommissioned. And behind the scenes, we are running, and later on, we are writing it to one of the SharePoint lists where the admin will come in at night, nightly, and approve the decommissioning, and then an agent flow goes and decommissions it. So it's an autonomous agent plus conversation agent. So it's not empty, it's just slow. So it does go in and verifies the user's identity. So this is an agent with no MCP, nothing, created about 8 months ago. But then this new OneDrive MCP came in. So we tested this, that if this could do the same as our self-service agent Graph API will do, because Graph API is a application, maybe take like a minute or two. It doesn't time out, but it takes a minute. So so we were more reluctant, but then new options came in with SharePoint MCP. We tried it. There are many, also needs a lot of iterations for us. So this scenario, which I showed you, is the real-time scenario in production in Teams. It's currently working for. Now, to build something like this, you need to understand all the steps, how the topic is behaving. So the architecture. The second part is inside Studio, how the topic on different scenarios behave. The third part, so Power Platform environment, we've already covered in a lot of sessions. So I want to switch to the tool integration. Third part, once you determine that all my topics, what kind of topics I'm going to use, that they're looking, so they don't call help desk, they're not reaching out to the operations team, they're doing self. When that comes in, when the architecture comes in, there is a biggest question that comes in, is what kind of tools I'm going to use. Now tools, okay, tools can be software, can be agents, tools can be agent flows, HTTP connectors, MCP servers, custom connectors. Tools can be multiple. So tools is just a general name. And in your studio agent, so I'm just showing demo as you understand what I'm. So tools here. So in this case, in my agent, we were testing SharePoint MCP. So tool is an MCP right here. This is my goes and connects this Copilot API. Okay, so Gemini 2.5 Flash image generation model is called. This is a custom connector. This is also a tool. There is also a prompt here, and the connector, one connector is here, and this connector is through REST API option. So when you go and add a tool, there are multiple options, and tools can be or it's called by the entire agent. Generate an image. So to run, okay, but I do have a topic. Just a bit slow. So these are the options for the tools. That's what earlier they were limited. Now tons and tons and tons and tons of MCP servers are there. They're all coming from Agent 365 registry. We can all disable them. An admin can do different policy implementation on those. But there are multiple options you have now. But see, the topic got, because the moment I said generate an image for me, so the phrases got generated and a topic was kicked off. Okay, I apologize, there's some delay. So here's it. It's added to the entire agent, but because I use the phrase the topic gets initiated, and the custom connector added as the Gemini takes input in form of the JSON. There's a particular JSON that it takes as an input to generate a image. So in this case, because I wanted to pass as a particular specific JSON format, I added the tool into the topic. Agent only has the tool, but it initiates when the topic calls it. So these are the scenarios that when you're actually building building integrations into your Copilot. So I'm just go back here and then show you. So this here I have listed some of the pros and cons you need to consider. So for example, agent flows, the most popular tools to be used, and are because everybody is familiar with. But you need to make a decision. Do you really need agent flows, or can you build the entire conversation with one node that's connected to, that's creating an HTTP request? One node HTTP request. Initiate a flow. Flow calls a HTTP request to SharePoint. Flow does things and then sends it back to your main agent, and then the agent processes the output. right inside your flow, like I did for self-serve operation agent. Right within your flow, you can call the Graph API, REST connection. You can add a tool right there. There's no need for agent flow. And why would I not agent flow? And the reason is the timeout. So agent flows, they do have, with the new express mode, which is enabled on the entire platform environment, Power Platform environment. So if your company has that, you can enable it. But then again, if you're experiencing a lot of latency, and if it's a user is sitting there, you would rather, just give them a message, say, hey, I just made a request back, and just hold on. So you might just be, it would be easier to make an HTTP request right here and not. So these are integration considerations. This is the next part: architecture, the flow management, and then the tool management. What tool do you want to use? We don't want to overburden by adding 10 MCPs. No need for that. So for example, this HTTP request or custom connectors, or the HTTP request ones, they also have 100-second timeout. So if these are timing out too or taking too long, you can use a Dataverse API plugin, for example, and evoke them from a custom connector. 2-minute delay, not 1-minute delay. So you have a 2-minute window now. Meanwhile, here that we are working on it, because the end user is sitting there. And then of course you have to make a decision. Agent flow, you don't want to use the HTTP connectors or custom connectors, but you want to use the MCP server. New thing. So if you are going to use the MCP servers, make sure you go through servers and look at the limitations. Now MCP server has subtools. So this is the option I wanted to show you. Is for any, do not think that this is a best practice. So if I say, I don't like this image that you generated, it's going to re-kick it and call the gem for me, which is going to also cost me money. So I only reference, initiate the tool referenced from the topic itself. So these kind of settings, you do specific settings inside the tool. But going back to so every MCP server that you see, even the custom MCPs that you will add to your Agent 365 registry, so that knowledge of that MCP, what it does, and if it is required. So for in this case, SharePoint MCP did for us. We went back to our ways, how we created a direct HTTP call to the Graph API. The user who's typing is the owner of a SharePoint site or not. Okay, this MCP tool actually didn't for us. So we turned off all of them, and I turned on only one of these. I think it was called get file. And then I asked the MCP tool, who are you MCP are you using to answer? So what MCP tool are you using to answer? So it's saying that I'm making Graph API. I can do this, but you need to test out. Adding 10 MCP servers and specifically narrow what you actually want from them is is probably the job of the architect from the beginning. But while development, you have to test different scenarios, and that's where the tool consideration comes in. You don't want to add 10 tools, and you do not also want to add 10 tools, and then you don't probably need any tool at all. In some scenarios, you can just do in the conversation. At the end of the day, Copilot Studio is a designer. It's same like Power Automate is. create nodes, call, assign variables, and then get an output. During all of now, if you do not like the LLM retrieval, so for example, you think I am doing a wonderful good everything, but the LLM is not bringing the correct answers. So I'm using Cloud Sonnet, I'm using Gemini, but that's not performing well. That's not understanding what I'm trying to say. In those cases, that's where the higher level architecture comes in again. So what do you want to use at the LLM level? So Microsoft has now released not only Copilot APIs, access to the cloud APIs. I think Sonnet 4.5 is one of my which I absolutely like. I don't think deep reasoning is needed for everything. I barely use deep reasoning. Money and for day-to-day operations and tiny autonomous agents or Copilot Studio agents, I think just 5 is good enough, or otherwise I just use ChatGPT 5 series, and in a lot of cases I have just kept it to 4 series because I don't want. But in many cases you want to make those decisions right from the beginning. So for example, I have a detailed article about creating a RAG. So that means RAG is retrieval argument generation. So that means you ask Copilot, get me a SharePoint document, get me this document, and it gets you back. But you do not like the answer. You said, maybe I did not this, or I 100% know there are other 3 documents, but you're bringing me only one. That's not acceptable, or it's not closer to what my query was. So in that case, you can make a direct call to retrieval API. Now, what is this retrieval API? This is the API that powers your M365 chat. And right there, if you ask a company specific question, they might make a connection using your credentials and using retrieval API. So directly connecting those services which powers your M365 chat, and then make a query. Here, the difference is that this is I'm not sure if you have specifically pointed to the knowledge side. But let's say you want precision. You want that I need to know that there are 5 being retrieved, but which one is the most likely query. So more precision. In those cases, there are different options that you can use. Going back to tools, so there's different options, and this is one of the options that I have used, that is using a Copilot retrieval API. I'm directly calling the API. I am sending, give me all the, so I'm asking, telling the query, for example, give me all the documents pertain to my system that was generated, that were updated in last 1 week, and they are the new offers that the company is putting out there. So I can go through the offers. So as an agent, I would probably need that updated information and also the latest offers that are expiring within a week. Now, expiring week, updated in a week, and going to get a new offers, all of these are parameters. So these all into one query, and we can directly hit your Copilot service, and the service will go around it. So we have no issues that it's not going outside, it's not going to the website. So service is already grounded. So it picks up all the parameters that we gave. We said, do this, do this, do this, do this, and get me the results. And it gets you the results. And I can show you a very briefly, since we, so it also gives you so it gives you the score. So I'm just, I hope it plays well. So behind the scenes, multiple topics are designed. So one of the topic is designed to select the source. So I am selecting holiday offer. I can format this output however and see score. So now this, we went deep into, how it's retrieving, how much precision it is versus the actual knowledge source if I add into a Copilot agent. So calling Copilot API versus actually calling the knowledge source through the agent. That is one of the decisions you will have to take based on multiple iterations, based on the use cases and how, and they are branch managers. They want an accurate information that what the offers are. So these are kind of different scenarios, and put the link here. That's a detailed about how custom connector can be generated, added, and then used. Valid agent, and once the custom connector is added, you can later modify the custom connector. I'm using REST API configure file in it. You can make the configuration change and connect it to cloud, connect it to Sonnet models, and integrate those into your Copilot as well. So these are different options. And I just want to wrap up in saying there are multiple best practices to do things, but I think the most is to continuously, if you are going to extreme amount of testing with who are not developing it, so BAT users, end users, because what they are going to write as topics, as prompts, is what you want to catch, and those are the goals, and every agent should have a defined goal. A knowledge source, you should know what knowledge source it's hitting. You have to use, a lot of times, use end all topics, so the doesn't kick itself. So what happens is if an agent replies back, and then the agent thinks that I have to, again, I have to do something, and it evokes something else. So use end all topics. So these were all best practices which I thought, and I always consider them. I go and read them again and again, so I don't miss anything. So make sure that you do. And this is just a slide where if you are missing any of the nodes in the topics, so you can to add them through Visual Studio Code. And that's pretty much it. I think if there are any, I'm sorry, I think there was a lot of delay in the presentation. No idea what happened to the connection. But any questions?
So yeah, I thank you, Isha. It was really good. So, but we had some lags, I think. So, but we will recut all the videos that I think regarding to the recording of StreamYard, we can show the video in a replay without this errors, because this video was really amazing for someone who want to start with Copilot Studio, get a really good overview about the handling. So I have one question, and this is regarding to the test of agents. So how do you test agent behavior when you have, for example, multiple fallbacks or multiple tools are involved?
Yeah, so there's something called Copilot Insights. So it's right there in Copilot now in the studio. For every agent, there is insights. In insights, there are multiple. It's a testing scenario. So test it for 30 days. So it will generate more data. But there are categories now with very recently added where it would tell you that there were several prompts added by prompts, categorized by prompts, groups them, and then tells the user, the developer, that these were the ones who were successful and the other ones were failed. So I think developer knows that how he can target. That's a new feature in the insights. And then, as I said, go to the insights, go to the conversation transcripts, which you can download for 30 days from the studio itself. A studio, going to the agent, on the top, there should be insights, and read through the transcripts. See the object called session state. So if the session was successful, so the user was satisfied. If the session times out, that means, and not everybody tells an AI bot, okay, bye, I'm done, they'll just leave. So if the time's out, but you can see the progression. But if the escalation part comes in, then you know that something is not correct because your purpose is not solved for the agent. And that really frustrates people because, they spend some time and 3 times, 4 times they ask, and they would rather, email somebody, which is what we are avoiding with the autonomous process. So a lot of testing needs to happen. I think more time architecture, more time into testing, less time into development. But during the development, I'm sure you'll make many, many iterations about the tools and the integrations that you want to do. Because at the end of the day, your goal is, if your agent says that I'm going to do these 5 things, so make sure that it does those 5 things regardless of whatever the person can type. The person can type do this, do that, or just type 2 words. But your agent should be able to understand. That's that's what the AI is for.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I think it was a really cool session. I hope we will restructure it on YouTube, and we for all of viewers here today, we cut all sessions because we have here 4-hour sessions, and we put it on our M365 show channel, YouTube channel, in the next week or in the next 2 weeks. I know it's a lot of work. I want to thank you. I hope I see you soon. Our next session is Dian Taylor. Sorry, I don't want to spell it right. Dian Taylor, staying on topic literally in Copilot Studio. I wish you a nice day, and let us see you soon. Bye-bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Oh, sorry. Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con. Today here with me is Dian Taylor with a topic staying on topic in Copilot Studio. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Let me just go ahead and share my screen here so that we, okay. Let me just go ahead and move this to this side here. Okay, so that's not working. Let me try and do that again here. Just hitting the wrong image here. Entire screen, and this is the correct one that we actually want to share. There we go. So this is what we're going to talk about, staying on topic literally inside of Copilot Studio. There's so many things that we can do with topics inside of Copilot Studio that I thought there was enough time to talk about this stuff. But before we're going to do that, let me just go ahead and introduce myself to you guys real quick. So my name is Dian Taylor. I'm a director at RSM in the pre-sales department, which basically means that I start putting together demonstrations for Dynamics 365, Copilot Studio Agents, all that kind of good stuff, and then show it to our prospects. I'm also a LinkedIn learning instructor. I have 3 courses out there. And if you look on the bottom right there, you also see that I'm a Microsoft MVP. My link to my website is there as well. Also, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, and or also take a look at the YouTube videos that I have on there as well. I try to add content at least once every couple of weeks, so keep that in mind as well. Now, enough about me. I kind of wanted to go ahead and just start talking about some of these things that are obviously available right inside of Copilot Studio. So let me just hang on here so I could actually go ahead and do this. Just wanted to turn my camera off so it's a little less distracting here. Now, I didn't want to go into too much detail in regards to what is Copilot Studio, right? Most of us know that that is an end-to-end conversational AI platform, which really empowers us to create and customize agents using natural language that has a graphical interface, right? So we can very easily design and test and publish these agents that suit our specific need for internal or external scenarios, right, across different industries, departments, and roles as well. So we should be all pretty much familiar with that. Now, I did want to throw this slide in here as well because it does have a lot of capabilities, right? You can see here that we have multiple channel support. We have IVR, telephony integration as well. We can also use Copilot Studio to extend the Copilot for Microsoft 365 agent as well, right? And then you can kind of see here all the different things, and I'm sure a lot has been added already in the meantime of when this slide was created versus today, right? But here are just some of the things that are currently available, right? We have Power FX, generative answers, Power Automate, we have agent flows, all sorts of different things that are available, right, in the platform. But again, so here we can kind of see the building blocks, right, that are part of Copilot Studio. So we have knowledge, we can ground our agents in, we have entities that I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, which really kind of define the data that we want the agent to find in a response. We also have tools. Tools can be all sorts of different things, right? We have MCP servers, we have connectors, we have agent flows, like a lot of different things there as well. But like I said earlier, I'm really going to focus on the topics. And if you have seen Copilot Studio evolve into Copilot Studio from the previous Power Virtual Agents, then you know that we kind of started with topics, right? And previously, we had to build out topics for every possible question that somebody could ask your agent. Now, topics could be conversation paths that allow users to have that conversation that feels natural and that flows appropriately. So we can configure these topics using the authoring canvas. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later as well. But I also wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what it is in a little bit more detail and why we would actually use topics in Copilot Studio. So this is really, right, when we're using topics, these are really to intentionally control when and how your agent responds rather than letting every interaction be handled generatively, right? So topics give you structure and predictability. They allow you to define, for example, specific triggers, conditions, right? Step-by-step conversation flows so that when a user asks something that is important or sensitive or even business critical, the agent will then follow a known path instead of, I always want to say the word guessing, right? What to do. Now, this is especially useful for scenarios that need to follow guided processes, right? So think about company policies or regulatory requirements, right? Where the accuracy of those questions and maybe also those answers are going to be very, very important, right? This is where topics come into play. Now, they also help manage and scale your agents, right? Think about this. By breaking these conversations into reusable, purpose-built topics, you can update logic, you can add validation, use tools, or hand off to customer service reps without impacting the rest of the agents, right? So topics really help us enforce consistency and then meet those compliance requirements. Now, again, this is just a part of Copilot Studio. This is just one of the things that we can use inside of Copilot Studio. And again, I wanted to do a session on this because I feel like topics have kind of been underrated, right? Where a lot of people are like, oh, we're not using topics at all anymore. So I wanted to use this session to kind of show you how even if you're not building out an entire conversation path with questions and answers, things like that, we can still use topics for slightly other things as well. And I'm going to show you that during some of the demos that I have prepared for you today as well. Now, when we're talking about topics, there's another thing that I want to bring up here, and this is the orchestration. So currently, we have two different types of orchestration. And the classic orchestration refers really to the traditional rule-based way that an agent manages conversations, right? Where you explicitly design topics and triggers and conditions and steps, right? That run into a fixed order. The agent then listens for specific phrases to match a topic, and then it can follow an exact path that you have defined or built out, right? Asking questions, it can call tools, it can return messages, it can do all sorts of stuff right there. Now, this approach is really highly predictable and obviously controlled as well, right? Making it ideal for structured business processes, compliance-driven scenarios, or basically any situation where the conversation must behave exactly the same way every time, right? So that's the classic orchestration. And in the time of Power Virtual Agents, that was really all we have, right? We only had the classic. Now, as Power Virtual Agents became Copilot Studio, it kept growing and we got more and more functionality. And one of them is the generative AI orchestration, right? And this, on the other hand, interprets the user's intent and then dynamically decides how to respond, right? Which tools, which topics, or what knowledge to use, and how to move the conversation forward. So instead of relying on these rigid triggers that we had before, the AI reasons over the user's message, allowing it to handle vague conversational or complex requests more naturally. Now, the key difference between those two is that classic orchestration prioritizes certain predefined logic, while generative AI orchestration prioritizes flexibility and understanding. So there's a very important difference between those two. Now, I kind of have a slide also on how does that work inside of Copilot Studio. So this is kind of the way that that works, right? Classic orchestration. We have the user utterance, right? Somebody starts to engage with your agent that has classic orchestration. What it does then is it's going to look through all of the topics, right? And if a topic is matched, as you can see over here, it will use that topic, right? And it's going to go through all of the steps in that topic and executes all of them, right? Just how we configure that. Right. And that's that response, that total conversation that we then have. If there's not a topic match, it does other things, right? It's going to search over knowledge, right? And then it's going to, if it finds any knowledge, it's going to use that knowledge to then summarize a response based on that knowledge. If there's also no topic found, no knowledge found, it actually then goes back to the fallback system topic where it's going to say, sorry, I didn't understand that. So that's the classic orchestration, right? It does one thing, then searches over a different thing, right? First topics, then knowledge, and that's really what it is. Now, when we look at generative AI orchestration, this is very, very different, right? Again, we're going to have a user utterance, but now what it's going to do is it's going to actually generate a plan, and it's going to look at all of the different things that we might have available in our agent. So it's going to look through topics, it's going to look through tools, it's going to go through, look through knowledge, right? And once it actually matches the correct tools and topics and knowledge, etc., it's going to now use those things. And right, as you can see here, and it's going to select a combination, right? If we have multiple things like topics and tools and knowledge that actually match that, what the user is requesting or inquiring about, then it's using all of those different things to generate a message to answer that user's question, right? Or whatever that might be, request, whatever, from using the outputs of all of those different things, topics, tools, knowledge, right? All of those. And if nothing is actually picked here during that plan generation, then it's going to go to that fallback system topic where it's going to say, sorry, I didn't understand that. Right. So the first thing I wanted to go in here is I wanted to kind of show you the generative versus the classic orchestration here. So let me go ahead and pull up my instance over here. So this one is actually classic orchestration currently, and there's a reason for that because I wanted to show you a thing here regarding topics. If I go here into this particular agent, I just created this agent. You can see here I have 2 or 3 backup topics here just in case if the demo gods are not with me today, then I can pull these things up and show that to you. But other than that, I have nothing in here, no knowledge, no tools, no agents, nothing, just those 3 topics that I have turned off currently as a backup. So the way that it works here, because this is now set as generative AI, is if I actually, let's just go ahead and go to a greeting, to my greeting topic. You can see here that we have a trigger of phrases. Good afternoon, good morning, hello, hey, hi. Anytime somebody types that into the chat with this Teams agent, it's going to direct that particular user to this topic. And you can see this one only has one message in here, and then it stops. But obviously we could have a whole bunch of, we could have a very long conversation path with all sorts of things, with messages, with questions, with calling of tools, right? All sorts of things. But we're just focusing here on that trigger. So that's really how that works. We have a trigger phrase, and that's how the conversation, or I should say the topic, is matched to what your end user is chatting about. Now let me go in here and change that from from classic orchestration to generative AI orchestration. And I'm going to have a reason for that. I'm going to show you that shortly. So let's just give it a second while we change this up. And then we're going to go back to topics. There we go. Let's go back to topics. And let's go to the same topic. Here we go. So now you can see that the trigger phrases have now disappeared, and they have been replaced with something that's called the agent chooses. Now what we have here is a description of what this topic does. And the reason for that is because when we're using generative AI orchestration, right, we're not using trigger phrases. What we do need to do is we need to describe and tell the agent what this topic is used for, so that when it puts that plan together that I showed you earlier on that slide, right, it actually understands how this particular topic is used, right? So that's the most important thing here. All right, so going back here to the slides, the next thing I wanted to talk about is the different trigger types that we have available. And you can see some of them are classic orchestration only, and some of them are generative AI only, right? So the first one, we already saw this, right? Where I actually had a trigger phrase. What that means is that, right, somebody types in something in your agent, right? That's the phrase or the communication that that user enters. And that is actually used to route the user to the correct topic. So for example, I could have a topic that says, hey, my credit card is stolen. That, for example, is asking for things like, okay, what's your social security number? What's your credit card number? All those types of things, right? So now we can route that user to that topic that is called credit card is stolen, right? So that's really what that trigger phrase is. And you saw earlier that that actually now turns into what you saw here, right? The agent chooses when we are switching that that classic to the Gen AI type of orchestration. We also have message received. So a topic with this particular type of trigger is literally triggered every time a message is received. So anytime somebody enters a message and is talking to that agent. We also have activity as triggers, and these can be a lot of different things, and they are actually they also include the one that we saw above here, message received. I'm going to show you that in a second. Another example of an activity trigger is a reaction to a Teams message. If you have an agent inside of that you build with Copilot Studio that you then publish into Microsoft Teams, we can, as we are having that chat conversation with that agent, we can actually like or put a little heart there, right, as a reaction to a message. So that's a good example of an activity trigger. And then we also have a custom event trigger, which fires basically when any type of custom event is happening, right? So think about custom events, things that are happening outside of the agent. So for example, an external system sends an event to the agent. So think about maybe building something on your website. Maybe you have an agent on that website. Maybe you also have a map with store locations. A user clicks on that store location, right, on your website. And that can actually be data that's been fed into the agent as a custom event. So maybe you want to go ahead and provide location details as soon as somebody clicks on that location. So those are some of that's a good example of what you can do with custom events. And of course, if you need to, as an admin, you can use the event name property within the trigger to filter out specific custom events, right? Just like I just explained, hey, if somebody just clicks on that location, maybe we will call that location event, right? Then show more specific information related to that conversation. Conversation changes. So this is very self-explanatory, right? So for example, somebody is added to the conversation or somebody is removed from the conversation, right? This could be a team's conversation as well with multiple people in that conversation, obviously, as well. And then you can also see here invoked, right? So these could be also things like you see over here in the slide, I have my agent that lives inside of Microsoft Teams. And now somebody clicks a button inside of Teams, and I'm going to use that to trigger one of my topics. So we can do things like that as well. Now, these are not all of them. We have some additional ones here as well. So this one is specific for generative AI orchestration. Oh, actually, it's not this one. It's the next one. Sorry. This is actually redirected to, if you have ever worked with topics inside of Power Virtual Agents or Copilot Studio, then you know that one topic can actually redirect your user to another topic, right? So that's really the redirected to trigger. Now, this guy I think is very interesting. This is when the person that your agent is chatting with is inactive, right? So they haven't responded back for an X amount of time, right? So your agent sent a message and now the user has just been sitting there, they're not responding. That could be a trigger as well. And then this one is for generative AI only. You saw earlier in the slide that I showed you that the generative AI actually puts a plan together, right? Hey, I need a topic, maybe I need a knowledge article, maybe I need a tool, right? It puts all those things together. So this is going to be triggered when the agent finishes all those planned steps. So if you want something to happen, you can use a topic for that and use a plan completes as a trigger. And this one I feel is very, very important because this is actually this is very important, right? This really means that the agent has generated a response, right, to send back for the user who's talking to it after, right, calling all those topics, tools, knowledge sources, etc. But at this point, the response has only been generated. It has not been sent to the user yet. So if you wanted to go ahead and actually intercept that response and maybe do something to it, right? Maybe put it in like an adaptive card or something like that, you could do that by using this particular trigger for that. So that's why I wanted to mention that as well. So now let's take a look at some of those trigger types. If I go here, again, back here into my Teams agents, you can see here that this is going to allow me, if I click here on change trigger, this is going to allow me to pick different triggers, right? You can see here, this one has a plan completes, an AI generated responses, all of those type of things. If I switch this back to not use the AI, right? If I go here to settings, and if I set this back to classic orchestration, I will not see those particular topics in there. Or the triggers in there. So that's very important as well, right? So now let's go ahead and actually work with some of those triggers, right? So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to create a new trigger type here. And the first one that I wanted to show you here is my user is inactive trigger. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's just go ahead. The user is inactive for a while. You can see here that the description is gone now, right? Because this is really what it does, right? When the user is inactive for a while. What we actually want to do here is when we click here on edit, this is going to now allow me to edit these properties, right? You can see here, how long should the user be inactive before we actually fire off this topic? So we can do 50 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour. Now, this is 50 minutes is kind of long, right? So if you wanted to go ahead and actually make this shorter, if you go from manual input to formula, now this is going to show you the amount of seconds that somebody is inactive. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that for 10 seconds. So if somebody is inactive for 10 seconds, we're going to do something. You also see here that I have a condition. I am not going to use that. However, I am going to use my priority, or actually I'm not going to use my priority for this, but I'm going to talk about the priority a little bit later, because this is the only trigger. I only have one trigger when the user is inactive, but this is going to come up a little bit later. So we have now configured our trigger. If somebody is not responding to the agent, back to the agent in 10 seconds, then we're going to do something. So what are we going to do? We're going to actually send a message. And in the message, I can close that. We're actually going to say, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Are you still there? And what I can do then is I can just go ahead and say, right here is that topic management. This is what I was talking about earlier, allowing us to go to another topic. Or I can just say we're ending the current topic, or we're ending the conversation. We can do things like that, obviously, from here as well. Now, unfortunately, you cannot test this here in this particular test pane. So unfortunately, we cannot do that. So what I've done earlier is I already published this particular item, or I should say this topic. I'm going to say inactive topic for demo. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Right? And then you wanted to go ahead and publish that, obviously, in here as well. Now, like I said earlier, I have already published this particular Teams agents here in Microsoft Teams. So that's what you see over here. And if I click here on See Agent in Teams, what that's going to do is it's just going to go ahead and take me here to Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, hello. I'm just going to start to interact with my Teams agent. And there you go. Hello, how can I help you today? And I'm not going to respond for the next 10 seconds. And you should then see that message that we just configured that is going to say like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Are you still there? So we're just going to give it a second as it's doing that. Or, you know what, I can actually continue on. Oh, there we go. It's already there. Only 10 seconds. So this is what that does. Right now, let me show you another one that I wanted to show you here as well. So I'm going to go back to my inactive topic for demo, and I'm actually going to delete this instead of creating a new one. I'm just going to use this guy. I'm going to again delete this, and I'm going to change my trigger. And now I'm actually going to do when a message is received. Now you can also see here that we have an activity occurs. So if I say that, and if I edit this, you're going to see here that I have the ability to filter out on the activity type. And if I click here on message, look at that. My trigger now changes to a message is received, right? That's this particular guy. So the a message is received trigger is basically just that activity one that I showed you earlier, right? The activity trigger. Where do we see it here? An activity occurs, right? With a filter set on a message is received. That's really what that is. So what I want to do here is, again, like I said earlier, this is going to trigger anytime when a message comes in to this particular agent, anytime, because I am not going to set any conditions. This is going to launch every single time. Now, I have other topics that are also being launched when certain messages are received, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to set that priority. So that means that, right, you can see here, this is setting a priority for this particular topic against other ones with lower numbers indicating a higher priority. So which one do I want to trigger first? Number one is going to be the first one triggered. Number two is going to be the second one triggered, etc. So that's what I'm doing over here. The next thing that I'm going to do here is, instead of doing all of these things, sending a message or asking questions with adaptive cards, etc., I am actually going to add a tool. And you can see here different things that we can add here. We can do a new agent flow. We can perform a custom search. We can generate a search query. We can do all sorts of things here, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to use a prompt that I've already created that analyzes sentiment, right? So it's going to look at the message, it's going to look at the incoming message, and then it's going to tell me whether or not that message is positive, negative, or neutral. If I click here on the model details, this is what I have configured already. And it really, let's just try that again, is kind of showing you what I want this particular prompt to do, right? So I'm saying, hey, you need to analyze the sentiment of the text input, and I want you to tell me if it's positive, negative, or neutral, right? Some instructions here as well. Carefully read it. Positive is this, negative is this, right? So I'm even giving explanations of that as well. And then some guidelines. And then lastly, only respond with positive, negative, or neutral. And this is my user text, right, that we're going to enter. That's this particular guy. So that's what we've done here. And I'm going to go ahead and go back. So this is that user text, right? So what do we want to flow in there from the conversation into this prompt? Well, that's actually the last message text variable. And if you go here to system and I can search for that last message, and I want the text value of that. So that's what we're going to put in there. And then here we have, as you can see, the output. So we are going to have that message flow into the prompt. It's going to analyze that for sentiment, right? It only has those three options, positive, negative, or neutral. And that output is going to come over here. Now we can create a new variable for that. And I can call that variable something. I can say prompt output, whatever we want to call that, right? And that's where it's going to store that outcome of that. Then what I want to do is if it is a negative outcome of that message, right, of that message sentiment, I actually want to do something. So I'm going to add a condition to say, let's just go ahead and do that over here, where I'm going to say this particular value, that output, right, that is actually the text prompt output text. I'm not going to say is equal to, I'm going to say in, because it might respond with negative with a capital or negative with not with, right, non-capitalized. So that's why I'm doing this. Oh, negative. I actually need to be able to, let's just go ahead and copy and paste that because I want to make sure I'm not misspelling that. So if that is negative, then I actually want to send a message. And the message that I'm going to send here is, there you go. I sense your frustration. I want to make sure you get the help I need. I can connect you with a live agent now. And then I can say, hey, we want to transfer the conversation, right, to a live agent, or we want to, and I don't have that set up in this environment, we want to escalate that, right? So let's go ahead and do that as well. I'm just going to go ahead and save this for a second. And the other thing that I want to do here is, let's just go ahead and track between those topics. I'm going to say, I am very mad. I hate, oops, this. Let's go ahead and see what it's doing. It should now go ahead. There you go, right? It now understood that this is actually a very negative message, and therefore it's saying, I sense your frustration, want to make sure you get the help you need, right? Let's try this again, and now just say, I am happy, and it should now just go ahead and bypass, right? And it did that, right? It's saying it's actually positive, so now it's not going to bother with that. So just wanted to show you that as well. And then lastly, we're going to go back to this topic. I also wanted to show you when an activity occurs. So again, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Let's just go ahead and delete this as well. Delete that guy. There we go. And instead of using when a message is received, I'm going to go ahead and say an activity occurs. And what I want to do here is I want to I want to edit the type of activity that we're going to do, because I want to do this on a message reaction. So that's what we're seeing over here. But this will only happen in Microsoft Teams, right? So I'm going to set my condition where I'm looking for the channel, right? Activity channel, and the activity channel is Microsoft Teams, right? So now my condition says this is only going to work in that Teams channel, right? That's when that's going to trigger. And the priority, it doesn't matter really, because this is the only one that I have, but you know what, let's just keep it to 1 here. What we're going to do here now is, again, very simple. We're going to send a message, and I'm going to say, thank you, thanks for your reaction. Oh, and by the way, we can also have message variations in here. And this basically means that, thank you for reacting. This basically means now that the agent will pick any of those messages, so that way you don't constantly have the same answer here, right? So we have things like that as well. And then I can just go ahead and say topic management, we are going to end the current topic or end the conversation. Again, we need to go ahead and save this, and we need to publish this. So this publishes, so we can do this in Teams, because again, here I cannot put any reactions on here. Right now I've already done that, so I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to go ahead and do a little like here, right? And then there you go, thanks for reacting, right? So that's really what it's doing now. So these are all things that hopefully you didn't know. You can do these things inside of topics for Copilot Studio. All right, so you already saw a little bit of that, right? There's a lot of things that I can do in that authoring canvas as well. I was really focused on the triggers, and you saw some things like sending a message and adding conditions. You also saw that I was able to use a topics management capabilities to, right, stop the conversation, stop the topic. I added a tool there as well, right? When I added that prompt, you can also add agents, and there's some advanced things like sending an HTTP request, sending an event or an activity, allowing people to authenticate, signing users out, right? All of that is from the advanced settings in here. Now let's go ahead and now take a look how we can create some additional topics here, and even some of them with the use of Copilot themselves. So what I ended up doing here is, as you can see here, I created a new agent called Restaurant Agent. I have no topics, I have no tools, I have no agents, I have again, no topics, no knowledge. Sorry, that was I literally just created this guy. That was all that I did. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to use Copilot to help me create a topic. So as you can see here, it says add description with Copilot. So I am going to say this is a restaurant reservation, and then I want to let the user make a reservation at our restaurant. I wanted to ask, the name of the reservation should be under the email address, how many people will be in the party, and the date of the reservation. And then I want you to add an adaptive card at the end that confirms the reservation listing, the name it should be under, email size, party size, and reservation date. So I'm just going to hit create here. And I think this is a really, really nice tool, because again, look how fast this is now going to generate this topic for me, right? So you can see here's my first node. This is my question node. What name should the reservation be under? And then here you can see that it actually says identify. What does that mean? This means that I am actually telling the agent that when somebody responds to this question, we're looking for a person's name. So if Copilot says, or if the agent says, what name should the reservation be under, and the user's response is the reservation should be under Taylor, then it will only pick up the name portion of that, and that's what it will store here in this reservation name variable, right? That's how that works. Same thing for here. What's your email address? How many people will be in your party? What's the date? Here is the message. And then lastly, I want to go ahead and I want to end this conversation. Am I doing this right? Yes, we want to end the conversation, not the topic. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now, this is great, obviously, to be able to do it this quickly, right? But there are some downsizes to that as well. And I'm going to show you that in a second. So let's just go ahead and try this out. I want to make a reservation, and let's just see what it does here. It's saying, right, it just said, I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but it says, I'm creating that plan here. So what name should the reservation be under? The name should be Taylor. There we go. And oops. And then what is your email address? I'm going to say dian@email.com. And if I did not put that in the correct way as an email address, it would actually give me an error. See, for example, how many people will be in your party? Let's say 5,000. Wow, we hope the restaurant is big. What date? 1/1. Let's go back to the 1900s, right? This is what we want to make a reservation for. Now,
And your microphone is muted.
there you go. That was weird that it just muted itself. Sorry about that. So here we're just saying, hey, for this question, the party size needs to be greater than 0 and less than 11. And if that is not the case, then we can basically say, have the Copilot or have the agents say something like, hey, although our portions are huge, our dining room is small and we can only accommodate up to 10 people. And this was just one example that I have for the party size, but you can obviously do other examples as well. If I actually go here to my backup agent where I've already configured this, you can see other things like being able to only pick a date in the future. So this particular guy, we're going to say, and we're going to say that the date that people are entering needs to be after today, right? So you can do things like that as well. Now, lastly, let's just go ahead and show you, did I save this already? Oh, that's this particular guy. Let's just go ahead and save this. I think I did this already. So now what we're going to do is, again, we're going to, oh, that's not what I wanted. I just wanted to say that I want to make a reservation. I want to make a reservation. And what name should it be under? And we're going to do, again, the email address, how many people will be in your party, and we're going to say 100. And now you can see that we're now restricting the answer that people can say, right? We can only accommodate up to 10 people. So if I now do 10 people or less, I can even do 8. It will now actually keep the folks within those parameters that I actually set within there. Oh, all right. So that is everything that I had for you guys today in the 45 minutes. Let me just go ahead and pull up the information over here. In case of again, if any of you like to connect with me on LinkedIn, please feel free to do so. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out as well. There's a lot of other things on topics that we can talk about. There's so many things that are that we can do with topics, which could really help building your agents out. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And again, my contact details are on the screen. I have some content on YouTube and on my website as well on Copilot Studio and how to build agents. So definitely feel free to take a look at that as well.
So that was really impressive. So thank you, Dian. I have a question regarding to the testing. So you have shown how you prevent the topics with bypassing with creative phrasing, like 5,000, and you want only maximum 11. So regarding to your experience, how should an I would say bot developer make a structure or plan to get all the these, I would say, to fix all these problems that could be causes via an bot, because this could be a lot of, and as we know, as a developer, so we said we are in a tunnel. So how we a developer get all the exceptions here, and what is the best way of working here?
Yeah, it really kind of depends. Oh, there we go. It really kind of depends on what you want, how you want your agent to work, right? Because we're not, you saw this earlier when I was creating those topics, when I use the classic versus the generative AI, we're going to have different types of responses, right? So when you create a new agent, now Microsoft is really going more to the Gen AI type of a approach, obviously, right? So when you're using generative AI, you actually also have the ability to set up instructions for your agent on that main page. There's really instructions throughout the application. When you create a new tool, you might want to put an instruction there as well, so that the agent can really understand when to use a tool, when to use a topic, right? So again, I think it's very, very important when you're using an agent that is running generative AI for its orchestration. The most important thing is to really set up your instructions for the agent, right? So that's the first thing. So then if there are specific topics, like I said, that really need a specific type of answer that you need to restrict, which you kind of saw in my example, then you can use topics for that. But everything kind of works hand in hand. It works together, right? So I think in this particular case, for the reservation, we wanted to make sure that we're actually pointing that agent to that particular topic so that we can restrict it. And those types of things, like walking through that topic, as you could see earlier, we can test those types of things very easily. Now, PowerCat actually has things to test when it comes to phrases, and not just phrases, I'm sorry, instructions that you give your agents. So you can actually upload test cases and then kind of see what the agent response is for that. But that's more of like an agent when you're using all those other tools as well, right? Knowledge and tools and other agents and that type of stuff as well. So very large answer related to that. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, but very good. So I want to thank you for today. This was an amazing session. So really, really good. Thank you. And the next session of today is Emilie Lundblad with When I Start Acting, Securing and Governing Agent Fleets in Microsoft 365. I hope we see us again, and I wish you a nice day. Bye-bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI. New features every week. New opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Are you tired of missing out on the latest Microsoft innovations that could entirely revolutionize your business operations and workflow completely now and forever? Imagine having daily insights from industry experts at your fingertips every single day, receiving actionable advice that transforms your professional landscape significantly with each new revelation daily. Our M365.fm podcast brings you engaging, insightful conversations with dynamic leaders shaping the future through innovative technologies and groundbreaking ideas that transform industries. Stay ahead of the curve with expert analysis on the cutting-edge strategies you need to implement immediately, making informed decisions and driving innovation forward successfully, always. From IT pros to C-level executives, our podcast has got you covered with actionable advice daily. Tune in now to discover forward-thinking, revolutionary ideas that are transforming businesses like yours right now with innovative strategies and fresh perspectives. You get the exclusive inside scoop on Microsoft's latest technological developments and strategic moves, straight from the company's top experts and industry thought leaders daily. Our engaging discussions make complex tech topics simple, accessible, and highly actionable. You'll be the first to know about groundbreaking, game-changing technological advancements that significantly impact your role and transform your professional landscape completely every time. Each episode is packed with practical insights to boost your professional growth instantly. Don't just keep up. Stay ahead consistently with the knowledge and insights that set you apart creatively from the competition and others in your field, always effectively. Our M365.fm podcast is your essential key to unlocking the full potential of Microsoft's comprehensive suite of productivity tools and services effectively every day. Join a vibrant community of forward thinkers who are actively shaping the future of innovative tech and sustainable business models now and beyond regularly. You'll gain confidence in your decisions daily, backed by expert opinions and valuable insights, fostering personal growth and trust in your judgment naturally over time, with each careful consideration. Expect seamless integration of the latest tech trends into your workflow and overall business strategy, enhancing productivity and driving innovation through cutting-edge solutions and expert guidance daily. Every episode is a step towards becoming a more effective, informed, and confident leader in your chosen professional field by enhancing your skills and expertise gradually over time naturally. Make the most of Microsoft's innovations today. Subscribe to M365.fm now and lead the way to a more productive future with innovative tools and collaborative solutions instantly. Listen now and transform your approach to tech and business with M365.fm. Your ultimate growth starts here today with expert insights and innovative solutions immediately.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your
Hello and a warm welcome to our last session of today on the Copilot and Copilot Studio stage. Here with me is Emilia Lundblad with a session when AI starts acting, securing and governing agent fleets in Microsoft 365. Warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me well enough out there.
Yeah, very, very good. So you can start. We'll leave the stage.
Thank you so much. So let me just see here how I can share my screen so that you can all see my main screen. I'm going to choose the entire screen here so that you can see it. As you can see, I have a lot of the tabs that I promised open up here in the background. And I will just take up my slide deck so that we can have a little bit of structure. So going from the beginning here, you should be able to see the slides now. And let me just do one thing so I can check exactly what you're seeing and give you a good experience. And move this down here. So, close this one, get back to our presentation and open it. There we are. So that should look about right to you. If there are any problems along the way, please do let me know. So today we want to talk about how to secure agents, because when agents start acting, it's more important than ever before that we are actually able to go in and secure them and govern them in Microsoft and in Microsoft 365. And we're going to look at the blueprints that can be available in M365's portal, how we can find it, and we're going to look at all the different tools that is available to work with. So among those tools that we will be looking into today is the Admin Center for M365. We're going to look into how to also use the blueprints that are in there. We're going to see how we can get an overview of AI agents already. We are also going to look into what help we can get from PureView, from Defender, and last but not least, we of course going to see a small demo of a Copilot Studio agent that will be acting and creating a ticket from pulling a ticket from ServiceNow and then going into solving it. So the one of today, of course, is that AI is moving from Copilots that can draft. We can get an overview over those two also in our M365 admin portal. But now we'll also see agents that are executing. So we'll show how to secure, govern all of these when you have an enterprise agent fleet across the M365 admin and portal, into the different security and AI tools that we can use on top of this. That's because the biggest AI risk or enterprise risk right now is not the model capacity, but rather what's happening when the agent's output turns into actions, even under pressure, and we don't have control over it, and we might not have observability or insights into it. So without explicit decision rights, auditability, and a control plane, governance can become visible only after something goes wrong. And I want to show you today how you can go in and have a look beforehand, how you can set it up, and some of the possibilities in regards to what we can do in 45 minutes. So we'll break through a concrete example. You'll also be able to see that agent in several instances, and then we are going to look into all the possibilities. So the question here is what to do when we go from the chat AI to agentic AI. And we are seeing quite a large growth in the agent population. We're also seeing growth in agentic AI adoption. And of course, we would like to always have human in the loop, but that is not necessarily what is happening. And so we do need to develop many new pillars of work when it comes to both registering and discovering, having identity first, looking at security and observability, and ensuring our compliance and policy is in order. So we already covered the why, the risk, and that is that without a control plane, then democratization creates a immediate vulnerability, and we can have new attack surfaces where there are either shadow leaks or manipulations, or there can be even false leaks. Example has been of attackers using CRM fields to hide commands that the agent will then go and execute. There's been one from Anthropic with a code compromise where attackers used agentic capabilities to execute 80 to 90% of espionage campaign without human intervention. So this can, in the large examples, become quite a problem. We're going to see a very small one today. Nevertheless, it just acts as a inspiration. So we're going to walk through a example. We're going to see that in Copilot Studio. And here we're also going to have an overview beforehand of already knowing that the agent is there and what it is doing. So that was the first introductions of the what and the why. And now let's go into the who and the prerequisites that you need, as well as the Zero Trust foundations. So in order to even get started with this, you need to set up an environment where you both have licenses for Copilot Studio, but also to Copilot M365. You need to have Microsoft Defender Suite, Microsoft Enter Suite, Microsoft PureView Suite. With all of this in place, you can start looking into all of the different aspects I'll show you today. For this session, I have created an entire demo environment with all of these different components. I'll show you some of it being live videos. If you have time, maybe I can jump out and show you live because it is open here in my browser. But there's also a few things where I'm showing examples from other sessions because I don't have as many agents running here and as many examples as would be nice to see. And I want to make sure that we get around all of it. So you have the licensing requirements, both for Microsoft 365 E5, Intra IDP2, you need Defender, you need Sentinel, you need PureView, Copilot, and the Power Platform. And you need that security set up before you could start a similar scenario. You also need to make sure you have the right role assignments, either as security administrator. You also need Sentinel contributor to manage and secure the environments effectively. So you would have to prepare quite a lab tenant. I've done that for today with the least privilege principles and confirm the browser compatibility, and of course also have MFA set up. So this is what has been set up today. We're then trying to work with Zero Trust principles. So the core security principle is Zero Trust, enforcing explicit verification, least privilege access, and continuous monitoring at every stage. The framework pillars here is that the model covers 6 pillars: identity, device network, applications, data, and enterprise security. And we're trying to show how all of these tools are integrating together for Zero Trust and enabling us to have threat detection and data security. And of course, by doing this, we'll have a resilient defense lifecycle, and it will make us with all of what we're seeing today, able to prepare, detect, and respond, and thereby recover steps and have a cohesive security strategy. We're going to look into first what we can do here with Agent 365 inside of the M365 admin portal. We'll look then to what info we can get by using PureView. We'll look into the possibilities of using Intra, why we need Intra for agents, and then a little bit about what we can do with Microsoft Defender. So with Microsoft Agent 365, we have many new security capabilities. There is access control. So you have Agent ID and Agent Registry. We'll see the overview in a moment. And this way you can also have Agent Lifecycle Management. You can ensure conditional access, and you have possibility of creating access governance. In addition, you have data security. So you have data security posture management signals. You can do information protection and data loss preventions. You have insider risk for agents and compliance controls. You also have threat protections. So you can see your agent inventory in Defender. You have posture management and hunting for agents. And you even have threat detections and runtime protection. So when we work with Microsoft Agent 365, we are tying together using both Microsoft Defender for extended comprehensive security posture and advanced threat protection to agents. And we use Microsoft Intra to protect agent identity and secure their access to any app or resource from anywhere. And for Microsoft PureView, we can manage, protect, and govern data that the agent is using across our entire organization. We'll see why we might have data lying around that the agents could be working with that isn't protected well enough. So we can see the overview of the different Microsoft 365 agents where we would normally be working in the M365 applications. And we're not going to go into Power Apps today, but we are instead going to look at Copilot Studio and having a agent in there. Of course, that's not the only place we could have agents. Agents can come from many different suppliers, but we'll also see how we can get an overview of all these kind of agents within the Agent 365 overview. So here we are in the demo tenant that I have created. And you can see here in the M365 Admin Center, the overview of agents. So the first that we get here is our overview. You can see that in the agent registry, there is already 158 total agents in this little demo organization. We can see the different agent publishers being shared by the creators, and there is at least 3. We can also see by external partners, and we have 25 from Microsoft and 129 from others. Then we can see where they are located. So we have Microsoft M365 Copilot Agent Builder, and we have some in Copilot Studio. Then we can go in and have a complete overview of all of the different agents. And now we can see that there are agents from many different suppliers. And we can see also which channels they can interact with when they are created, who the publisher is, and what is their availability. We can then go in afterwards and decide to change this. We can also search for whatever agent we might need. So maybe we want to look for what do we have working with Copilot. And here at the top, we can see also that there is already created a Copilot blueprint to improve the agent identity. From here, we can go and start doing some edits and changes. So perhaps we want to have a look at all of the agents and then all of the tools. Here we can see all the tools that are available, the different MCP servers that are already available for the agents to work with. And then under settings, we can make different changes. So we can allow certain agent types. Here, very simply decide if we want only from own organization, Microsoft, or whoever. We can also allow who can share, all users, no users, or specific users. We can have a look at the agent templates. So here we can see different default templates set up beforehand. And lastly, user access, who should be able to interact with agents. Is it specific ones, all users, or certain groups? So this is the quick overview of what we can do under the agents in Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Now, in addition to that, of course, we want to make sure that we also look at the data, and here PureView can come in to help. So we can get an overview first of how to get started with the different solutions. We can see how to use it in a portal-wide setting. It can take a little bit of time to set it up correctly. The more features you want to use in PureView, the more time you have to put into getting the insights. But the good thing is that you actually get a guidance on how much it will take to set up each of the different components or parts that you might need. So why would we want to do it? Well, we want to do it because when you have data risks deepened due to the risk and rise of agents, then you need different ways to handle it, because you need to figure out how do you govern the agents when tools and compliance processes are fragmented. I see that in my day-to-day work. You also have to figure out how you're preventing unsupervised agent access to sensitive data and ensuring accountability for their actions. And you need a visibility into what agents are generating, accessing, and sharing across your different environments. And last but not least, how are you controlling autonomous agent interactions that could expose sensitive information? So what is new in Microsoft PureView is that we have data security and compliance for agents, where we can observe the agent risk. We have agent visibility and risk in DSPM, if you've set it up, that is. You have insider risk management for agents, and then you can also protect sensitive data. So by having labels on, you can protect certain kinds of data from agent interactions. And you have support for Agent ID and Entra, which we'll also have a look at later. Then, in order to maintain compliance and controls, we have that extended to agents. So what can that look like? And first, we're going to see here where I've set it up. Here we have the examples of the platforms with data. We can see already the sensitive data types that it has access to, and we can also get a posture breakdown and what should be done. We can get an overview by compliance manager on what should be the first tasks that we should start handling. It might take a moment to load, but then we will get a nice overview here over our score as well as improvements. And you can see if there are clear overview of what we should be doing, such as applying sensitive data labels to protect our data. We see how many points we can do. We can also view regulations that we should be considering and all of the different components that we could be using and interacting with here in PureView. Then we can see the overall compliance score and our posture management only when it comes to AI. And we can see again what we might need to do. We can also see it in a different overview here, where we get started step by steps, and we already know how long it's going to take to get us through each of the tasks, so we can start planning to get to our top overview and top security for our AI. Now, this is just the demo. I've spent a couple of days setting all of this up together. So I also want to make sure that you see what it looks like when it's fully set up with all the different components. So here is the data security posture management in preview, where you already have classified or labeled all access, where activities is covered by data loss prevention. And we can also see in here the data security alert triage and how that development is going. You also get key agent insights, so total number of agents in your organization, how is that going, agents with sensitive interactions, and high-risk agents, so that you can go in and start working with it. And once you do view observability, here you will also get into seeing the different tasks that you should be doing in order to improve it. So here's the overview then of the different agents and those with high risk levels. And you can see also the risk type and the policy that is covering this specific area. From there, we can go in and have a look at specific agents in order to review the risk activity over time. We can see what sales instance it is. We can also see its agent user ID. So this looks like it's an actual person, and there is an owner here, John Brown. So it's not a agent intra ID. We can then see all the activities that has been happening with this specific agent in the Activity Explorer, and which of them has been more risky than others. Then we can see the data loss prevention rule match and why this is part of having the top one giving a very high risk. And in addition, we have the option here to look at the recommendations. So that would be over here, and then get started on applying them so that we can limit the risks that we are seeing. We can then use these recommendations same way as I saw before. You can also see them in a different view where you can see how much time it will take to use each of them to go in and then remediate the problems. We also have insider risk management, where we can see where we might be leaking sensitive data, where and when this has happened, whether it has been due to label on a file downgraded, email sent to external recipients, or sensitive response generated by an agent. We can also see access of sensitive SharePoint files accessed. So here we get a total overview of each of them. So with the new agents, we have a new type of identity in Intra. And that means that we now have Microsoft Intra Agent ID. It gives us a secure access for agents, just as you do for employees, with enterprise-grade access management, protection, and governance of agent identities. So you can assign a Intra ID to each of your agents, ensuring that it's the correct apps, the correct parts of your cloud services that it has access to, as well as the networks, the users, and it could be other agents as well. So with Microsoft Entra ID ecosystem, we can apply this both to the agents in 365 that we saw in the 365 admin portal, but we can also apply it to the Copilot Studio agents, as well as Security Copilot, Microsoft Foundry, Microsoft Teams, and even to LinkedIn. This way, we can both have protection, we can ensure network security, we can have governance, authorization, and authentication. So we bring the same protections and control you rely on for users to AI agents. In addition to this, we can also make sure that we have discovery and registration, and that will be both happening in Intra, but also when you have it connected correctly to Microsoft Defender, Sentinel, and PureView, you get this complete overview. Now it works for an entire ecosystem, so you can use these agent IDs also for external partner agents such as ServiceNow, but also Workday or many others. So in Microsoft Entra ID, you can register and manage the AI agents, you can govern the agent identities and lifecycle, and you can protect agent access to resources. So let's first look at what we can do when it comes to registration. Here we have the agent ID, and that enables AI agents to be recognized, authenticated, protected, like any user in the organization. And it can be based on OAuth 2.0 with full developer library support. So first, we had agents that was just assisting us. Think of using M365 Copilot. Now we're seeing that even M365 Copilot can do things for us, and we're seeing more agents like this. And the next step from there is that it can work with others, and we can even create and do that within Copilot Studio. We're just going to take a small example of the ServiceNow ticket, but this is the curve that we're on. And for that reason, agent permissions are becoming more granular, and we need much more considerations in here. So here is what I can look like in my little demo, where we have set up Microsoft Entra Admin, and we can now already see 3 of the different agents. And we can also see that there is already created a agent blueprint for the Copilot Studio agent to ensure that it is following best practice. In this case, it's for a buffer style private equity analyst, and we can now get an overview of the blueprint ID, the object ID, and the specific agent blueprint, and we can see the agent's identity access. And with this, we can then check whether or not it has also owners and entry roles. And we see it doesn't have an entry role, so that's something we can improve here, but it does have direct owners. So this is the first overall view that we can get with Microsoft Entra. And from there, we can then assign the Microsoft Entra ID, same as you would if you were creating any other user and assigning different rights. Here we then see the agent identities that has been picked up by Entra. And from here, we can then go on to get a broader view of what does it look like when you have extended it to also work correctly together with PureView, Sentinel, Intune, and Microsoft Defender, because then you really extend it with all the purpose-built abilities and capabilities that you need to secure AI agents also for third-party applications. So this will create and deliver observability for everyone. And you have a different set of skills and perhaps teams that needs to be working together in order to make this work. So it's a collaboration both between IT teams, dev teams, and security teams, ensuring that the agents have IDs and you have an inventory overview. We've seen a few examples already. You have to ensure that the data labels are in place and the policies in order to get the overviews. You have to create security posture, and from there also conditional access. And then you can have threat detections and remediations and compliance policies and reporting in PureView. So this is what Defender would look like if you just started it up in your demo session. And from there, we can then go in and see our different security scores. But most importantly, what we want to do is to ensure this security posture and threat protection for agents. Because in order to prevent threats, we need the real-time protection, we need security posture, management, and attack path analysis. We need to detect the threats. So we need the OTB, threat detections, ability to create custom detections, and investigate and respond. So having the inventory of agents and advanced hunting on this. So this is what I would look like in a setup where we have everything enforced. So here we can then see on the left-hand side our AI agents. We can get a overview to discover them and see the development. We can also see which agents require our attention. These are all in Azure AI Foundry, but you can also see those that are in Copilot Studio. And down here, we can see all the different agent names, the status of them, the ID, creation time, what kind of model they're working with, the account, which projects they're under, and we also see the recommendations that we might want to work with. Then we can open them up and have a look at the account, again, deployment, and then the risk factors. So what kind of risk factors and what kind of recommendations. Here, we then go into the security recommendations, where we can see that although the risk level here is low, we want to make sure that the connected AI agents should be configured with instructions on how to not give inappropriate answers. And the other one, that the Azure AI agents should be configured with operational instructions so that it will not do any operations or actions that is not aligned with the intentions. So we gave it even more information here on how it should be configured with instructions and how to revoke them. And we also will get more information on the remediations and the map preview. So here we have the step-by-step remediations where we should go. So go into Azure AI Foundry, now Microsoft Foundry, and select the project that contains the agents. And then from the left pane, open agents and locate the agent you're remediating. Select the relevant agent and review the list of connected agents on the connected agent sections, and then click the three dots for the connected agents and choose the edit description and name. And in details, the steps to activate the agent section provide clear instructions on when and why the agent should be invoked, and then save the updated instructions to apply the changes to the connected agents. You, in addition to that, also get a map or graph where you can see the different issues. So here, internet exposed container with high severity vulnerabilities that allows lateral movement to Azure AI Foundry agents grounded in sensitive data, which is rather unlucky. So we can see here both the different services that are involved and how they are connected, even a user ID, which specific agent it is, and the different data that it has access to. And it gets a description, and we get an attack story. And then from there also, there are recommendations on how to address it. So here is an attack on a procurement agent. There has been a user phishing attempt was detected on the AI agent. Also, a jailbreak attempt has been blocked on an AI agent. Of course, in AI Foundry, you can turn on that you always have the different jailbreak solutions enabled. So this is built in. Sometimes you need to do more on it, but it is built in Azure AI Foundry. You can get an overview of exactly what has happened, and you can then get the suspicious segment that has been sent. So here's the example of the jailbreak attempt, trying to ask the agent to ignore all the instructions and share vendor's bank account details. Of course, we wouldn't want that to happen. So overall, it's important to remember that securing AI workloads is a team sport, and many different tools are involved in ensuring that this happens. So for developers, this can both be the content safety, which is also built in already in Microsoft Foundry, as well as the red teaming options. You also have to, of course, secure your dev workflows. Here you can get help from GitHub security agents. And then what we've already been looking at in Intra, the identity and access management. And then in Pure View, we get help with the data security and the compliance. And then last but not least, in Defender, we get help with the security posture and the threat protection. So this is where we have to collaborate closely across those doing the AI development and then the security team. And I certainly know that from my everyday work that I have gone very much from a world of developing AI and agents to also being deeply involved in making sure the security is in order. So that brings me on to Copilot Studio. So here in Copilot Studio, I had promised that we would go and have a look at a IT service assistant. And our IT service assistant has been connected to the service now. It's a sandbox area. I'm just going to show you that quickly, where I have used the instance URL and used that to connect under the tools with the ServiceNow connector in order to get catalog categories and update records. So now I can go in here and I can say, find a VPN incident and resolve it. And we'll see that it does a query. We can see that it uses the connectors to update the record and find the information. And now we get a complete overview. So here we have a ticket snapshot. We can see that the user was me. We can see that it was a VPN incident, and it failed after Windows 11 cumulative update. And we can see the likely causes ranked. So most likely VPN client incompatibility with the latest Windows update and a corrupted tapped adapter or VPN file, and then outdated or invalid certifications. So then it took the next best actions. It did a draft ticket update, and we can see here the work notes. So up here, the issue is resolved, applied VPN repair, tab resets, and certified refresh. And we have a profile patch of v24.1 and a user confirmed VPN. And the reconnect is then successful and monitoring for reoccurrence. So And then we have a customer update external, and down here, a if change required, human approve is needed, but right now no further action is needed. So with that, I also want to make you aware that what is coming is also an overall security dashboard solely for AI. And here we can discover and assess end-to-end risk across the organization for the entire data estates of AI apps and agents. So here we can get an overview of what has happened since our last visits. We see our AI inventory, so that could be maybe that we had something as scary as 40,500 AI apps and agents in our organizations we needed to handle. And we could see how many were managed, not managed, and other AI apps. Then we could see the overall risks, so misconfigurations and attack paths where we might be having them. We can even see it on tenants outside of both Azure and M365, so we can connect to outside tenants, especially from Defender, and see what is the problem. Is the misconfiguration or is it the attack path? And then in Admin 365, we can see the same information, and here also from Foundry. Then we can see the, well, here 2,500 sensitive data interactions, and we have quite a few here in Foundry. There is both some data leakage, oversharing, and some unethical behavior. It's a little less in Copilot Studio, and we see that for the agents that we have in our Admin 365 portal, it is even less. Nevertheless, it is there. From that, we can also get the whole overview of the security recommendations, not just in each of the different tools, but in one overview. So here we can see that we both have Entra, we have PureView, and we have Microsoft Defender. And we can see the recommendations, so what should be done for each of them. So preventing the agent sprawl and unauthorized access, where we from Microsoft Entra can get help with the Entra ID governance for agents and configuring access packets assignments. We can also enable advanced zero trust access controls for agents, starting with conditional access. And one that's not done here is configure Entra agent registry discovery policies, control agent visibility for A2A. This could also have been for MCP by moving agents to global collections for org-wide visibility. And then in PureView, we might get some recommendations on how to prevent data leaks and oversharing. And here we can enable Microsoft PureView Audit. We can set up PureView data loss prevention for agent interactions and turn on communications for compliance, insider risk management, and data lifecycle management. And last but not least, from Defender, we can get support and input on how to address AI risk and vulnerabilities. This could be configuring cloud apps security, apps discovery, and enable Microsoft 365 connector. It could also be enable app governance and Copilot Studio and enable Foundry. So these are some of all the things that I brought with me in the presentation. And what we could just cover, last but not least, that I anyways had open in the browser window, now that we do have time. I have to go back here to the right window. There we go. So in addition, one of the things I didn't cover in the slides was how to handle the security for the Power Platform and thereby Copilot Studio. So we would be going from our Copilot Studio and into our settings here. We also have the connection over to, well, now it's Microsoft Foundry, but it says Azure Cognitive Services here, but the logo is correct. But we want to go straight in here to the Power Platform Admin Center. And in here, we have the possibilities to change the settings for several of the different components. And among them, you can see that we can choose Copilot Studio. So here we can see an overview of how to review the security and review the health. And you can also see that we get recommendations in here. So we have one here, turn on tenant-wide analytics for a better experience. And we can go in here and we can turn that on. And I just need to move this little button and say save, so that we have done our first remediation in the admin center for Copilot Studio. Then we can also get a good overview of all the different parts here. And if I go back to the one I was already in, we can, under our settings, go in and see what else we can update and change. And we can see all of the possibilities to make configurations on the settings here for Copilot Studio. So we can use computer use, so we can enable computer use feature. This is really good for some AI automations, and we have to then choose the environment where we would like to edit the setting in order to be able to use computer views, and then you can see turning it on. It's quite handy because it makes it possible to have AI automations that interact with your screen. But of course, you really want to have your security set up correctly when it is interacting both with the screen and your computer, and even so if you're using a cloud PC. But it combines many of the good features that you had in the Power Automate desktop with now using AI. You also have here, as we were talking about in this session, the Entra ID for Copilot Studio. And again, you have to choose the environment, edit the setting, and then turn it on so that you will enable the agents to use Entra agent identity. We can also enable code generation. We can make sure that we can connect the different Copilot Studio agents so that they can work with each other. We can also ensure that we have different knowledge sources for agents, and we can have agents access different channels, although this one can be a little on the tricky sides. Then we can have skills, and we can have some level of client application access controls. And last but not least, here with the authentication, although this one is giving me a little bit of trouble because you really need several times to set it up closely with the Entra and M365. But here you can restrict the access to the agents published from Copilot Studio to help keep the data secure. On the other hand, if you're not doing it here, you can also go back here in the M365 portal, and then you have your overview over your agents. And down underneath the settings, you can also go in here and decide some of the user access and the allowed agent types, but it can become even more granular than this. And last but not least, you can look into how sharing should be allowed. So do you want it to be a tenant isolation so that it can only be shared within your own tenant? That can be a good idea. So we're going to turn that on, and you can save that. You can also have environment security groups. You can manage the sharing overall. And again, you have to choose the environment that you are working with, and then you go and you say manage your sharing for the Copilot Studio agents. And it is now turned on, and here you can then see what are you allowed to share: Power Apps, Power Automate, and Copilot Studio. And here, editors, you let people grant editor permissions when agents are shared. You can turn it off or on. Viewers, let people grant viewer permissions when agents are shared. And you can decide if it's only individuals and not security groups. So maybe I want to change that to be only share with individuals, not security groups, and number the amount of viewers per agent. So I can set that to 3, and we go and we save it. And then we have also been in here in Copilot Studios, part of the Power Platform Admin Center, and seeing that here is also possibilities for limiting the access and improving the security of agents. So 3 minutes left. I'm going to ask if there is any questions from the people here in the studio, or anyone who have comments or questions that they'd like to ask in the last minutes.
So that was a firework. I think this was the most comprehensive expert session for today. So with so much details and with a complete overview, I think the best closing session that we can have. So regarding to my question, so I over the whole time of your expert session, I take this question or this question or this question, because you gave an overview about the whole microcosmos of Copilot Studio and for M365 agents. It was really amazing. So no, I have no question for this topic, because I think we can leave it as it is, because this was an amazing overview. As it has shown all must-to-dos, must-haves, and configurations. Amazing. So thank you. Thank you. I could say
Thank you for
nothing
having me. And
So,
I think on a practical note, my work a long time ago, I started working only with a few tools, and then it sprawled into many others. And it's really just come to the conclusion to I, as a head of AI, have to be aware of all of these parts, because when you get started with working with AI in an enterprise, you will not get around not working with all of these sections. There is no way that you only get to have M365 Copilot, because as soon as you enable it, you also enable the agents in Copilot Studio. And when you enable that, people will start looking for the additional usage that you have from Foundry. And so it will sprawl out, and therefore you do need all of these tools, is what I can say from a practical experience. So good luck out there to all of you to get started and work with it.
The one topic, I think your presentation shows really, really good that small companies has really as not a great problem, because, for example, they have only one administrator with all roles, or two. One for Power Platform and one for all the M365 and Azure settings. But this shows in this session you point that out at that. So if you work for a great company with a lot of roles, you have a lot of to do. You need to configure a lot of settings in Defender, in Entra, in Copilot Studio, and so on. And that shows it on point what you need to do. And was still amazing. So I can only thank you for this amazing session. So for all in the crowd, so we cut all this video from these 4-hour sessions to only 45-minute sessions and load it up on the M365 show. And we see us tomorrow again with Kim Berg and our first session at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you for today. Emilia was really amazing. And have a nice evening. Or tack for idé. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.